Okay, good morning. It is Thursday, May 25th. I'm Commissioner Ed Rothstein. I cannot believe it is the last open session of May. And next week we'll be going obviously into June. As we do prior to our sessions, let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go into priority Carol. We're going to then have a hearing on an assessment for a special tax situation. We will then recess, go into our Board of Public Health, or Board of Health, excuse me. We will then recess and reconvene into open session and go from there. But before we do all, just one other side note. As you see, there are four of us up here on the dais, and Commissioner Vigliotti is virtual at this time. So for priority Carol, let's start. Commissioner Garin, what's on your mind?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Rothstein. Good morning, Carroll County. You have to forgive me for sort of fumbling through my priority Carol this morning a little bit. I'm going to be reading from offline, but I wanted to make two announcements. They concern our fire and EMS folks, and in particular some recent events down in my district, District 4. I want to make two announcements. One, I wanted to announce, and this hits close to home, the passing of Earl Baker Sr. Since 1964, Mr. Baker has been a part of every aspect of the Winfield Fire Department. He was a founding member, he chaired events, held many offices, and so much more. In addition to that, he was instrumental in some of the rec council things that occurred down in Winfield. He got some things started up down there as well. For those of you who don't know, his son, the entire family is within the fire service. Rick Baker is the current president of the Emergency Services Advisory Council. He's become a terrific advisor and a great advocate for the fire and EMS folks in the Carroll County. This is Rick's father. Again, I want to mention that our condolences from the entire Board of County Commissioners to the Baker family. And the family will receive friends today from 2 to 4 and from 6 to 8 for a fire department memorial service at the Winfield Fire Hall. So again, to the Baker family, from the entire commissioners, we want to convey our condolences, and we want to let you know how appreciative we are of your father and everything he did for this county. I also want to, there was a convention over the weekend. CC Visa ran their annual convention on May 20th. I was unable to attend. I happened to be traveling. I was planning on being there, but I had to go out of town. For those of you who don't know, CC Visa is the Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Services Association, and they hosted their annual convention at the Winfield Fire Department on May 20th. They were a little busy the night prior to that because they were putting out a fire at South Carroll High School, so I want to convey my appreciation to everybody involved in that as well. I've mentioned several times up here, I'm a proud graduate of South Carroll High School, and I have kids there. And it's pretty amazing that they're able to contain the fire as quickly as they did, and they're already cleaning up the mess. And I also want to thank the Carroll County Sheriff's Office for their involvement in that particular unfortunate event. There happened to be a deputy in the area and noticed what was going on at the high school, I think, before anybody else did. So once again, our county fire and EMS are on the scene. They're doing their jobs, and once again, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, they always seem to be exactly where they need to be at the right time. So thank you to all those individuals. Thank you to all those men and women. But again, I wanted to, I mentioned that the CC Visa had their annual convention, and I want to congratulate Susan Mott for her election as the president, and Donna Gieman as who was elected president of the auxiliary. George Wentz is now the first vice president of CC Visa, and Marianne Wareheim and Mary Carol Stifler will continue to serve as the secretary and treasurer, respectively. So again, my many thanks to everybody associated with our fire and EMS here in the county, and we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you. First and foremost, I think I mentioned this last week, but wanted to mention it again. June 1st from 5 to 8 p.m., East Middle School will be having an open house for the community. As many know, East Middle is being replaced with a new school, but wanted to give the opportunity for the community to visit. It was both in a middle school as well as it was a high school at one point. So for anyone in the community that would like to come out, June 1st, 5 to 8 p.m. will be the tour, and open, well, not an official tour, but will be open to the public to walk through and view the school. So great opportunity to do that. I'd highly recommend it if you're interested. Secondly, this past Saturday, I attended and participated in the Eagle Scout Court of Honor of Ryan Alasakis of Troop 381. In the picture here, Ryan is on the far left. He is Eagle Scout number 120. I myself am number 70, and Dave Rogers in the middle is number 1. The troop had existed for 60 years. Unfortunately, the troop has disbanded due to lack of members, but those scouts have now joined other troops in the community. But congratulations to Ryan and everyone involved, and has been a member of Troop 381. Also this week, as many of us have been, we've been attending graduations. I was able to attend the Career in Tech graduation the other evening for the Academy of Health Professionals. Congratulations to Maddie Iselhart, who is going to be attending Carroll Community and then will be working in the health industry, good family friend. It was really nice to see the large number of graduates in this area, because it's definitely a field that we desperately need more and more people. And we've heard this from the local hospital, and it's just great to see that we had such a large, vibrant class of health professionals graduating this year from Career in Tech. Also, last evening, Commissioner Kyler Rothstein and I were all at the community college graduation, and I thought that was exceptional. I found it very interesting that we had graduates ranging from the age of 17 to 73 was the oldest. I thought that was a testament to her and her dedication, so congratulations to everyone from last evening. If you've been anywhere in Westminster, I'd say probably the last month or so, you've no doubt seen Westminster City's Main Street covered with and decorated with Hometown Hero and Fallen Hero banners. This was a collaborative partnership between Westminster City and the Carroll County Veterans Independence Project. No doubt you'll see a wide array of folks that you may know, including one of our council members who has a banner up for being a hometown hero. These banners are still able to be obtained if you're interested in acquiring one for someone in the Westminster community, and that can be accomplished by calling 667-314-3700. And last but certainly not least, I will mention that Monday will be the Westminster Memorial Day Parade, 155 years consecutively. And the photo here is of the large American flag that for decades has decorated Main Street on Memorial Day, and I think it's a testament to the community that this has occurred for decades. Troop 381 was the troop that was always responsible for this flag, and while Troop 381 has no longer in existence, this will occur on Monday, and I'm happy to say that it'll be a variety of individuals from both scouts and community folks involved. So I think it's a testament not only to our appreciation of the veterans that have given the ultimate sacrifice, but also the dedication of a community. So I thank everyone involved in that, and thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Commissioner Kyler.
Okay, a little bit to say. Again, Carroll County is a great place to live, and I think you guys have already mentioned Saturday, May 20th, it seemed like 1,000 things were going on in the county. And I know the trainers had a 50th anniversary. I really wanted to go to it, but I was at Hampstead Day all day, and that was a great event. I actually shared my space with friends and former students of Robert Moten, and we had a great time, a great day. They were giving out pens, and a lot of people filled out their forms. I know they seem concerned that people don't know who they are, and we had talked about that, and I said, you need to go to events like this and put out the word. Nicely put, no offense to us, but coming to a commissioners meeting or going to a town meeting, you've got a very limited audience. If you want to see the people, you got to get out where they are. So I set up a table, they shared the table, and it was just a great day. Talked with some of the Civil Air Patrol guys who were helping and working there. There I am in my wrestling shirt. And there's a Terps wrestler over the other side. That's a friend from Randallstown, came up to harass us. But just a great day. And attended the cabinet meeting on Tuesday, and that was great to see different people within this building report on what's going on and what's being planned. And I've said it before, we've been here a little bit, but I still have a lot to learn, and meetings like that can really help it.
Commissioner Kyler, who's this? I apologize. Go back that one picture. Who's that ugly guy right there?
That's Chris Tomlinson.
Oh, okay.
He was
Okay.
he was there, he and Molly. We took a picture, and he told me 4 times that he was in a wedding. He had to get going because he was in a wedding. Somebody asked me the question you just asked, and I got out my phone and wanted to show them his contact information. It called him in the middle of the wedding. And he's
Oh,
like,
boy.
I told you I was in a wedding. Why are you calling me? And I'm like, because I can't handle the phone well. That's why.
And we're very proud of the work he's done as a legislator and delegate here in District 5 in Carroll County.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
apologize.
Yesterday was Employee Appreciation Day, and it was great talking to as many people as I got to talk to. Good food, good times, and it's a great part of a day for.
I'm not sure what that look is.
And that's probably because I left early. I had to leave early so I could go to the community college graduation. And Dr. Ball, the trustees, the staff, Speaker Garrett Hoover, just such a great event and well organized. And we, as you can see, we got to wear gowns and hoods. Been a long, many years since I've done that. Mr. Hoover gave a great talk, and Rhonda and I were kind of blessed because we got to see our niece, Kara Ruby, walk across the stage and graduate, and that made it even better. One of the other things that made it better, we see people are very vocal when they don't like something. And a gentleman came up to me. I prefer not to say who he is, but I don't know if it'd be a conflict or not, but he came up and he goes, I need to talk to you. And I thought, what the heck did I do, you know? And he mentioned Marcia Herbert also.
Uh-oh.
And he says, I got to talk to you. And he goes, I got to watch what I say, and that's why I'm keeping confidential. But he said, if you guys would not have fought to get these kids in the classroom, many today wouldn't be doing what they were doing. And I was like, wow. I said, I thought you wanted to yell at me, but you want to be nice, you know? And I just, you know, hindsight's wonderful. If we had the guts we should have had, we'd had them in school sooner and longer. Yes. But it was so great to hear somebody say that. His son, I think, is graduated from high school this year and has 2 other degrees because of the great relationship with the school system and the community college. And that's just, that was great. Career Tech, as Commissioner Gordon mentioned, they've been doing some of their ceremonies and graduations. Over the next 2 weeks, all the high schools will have those, and they're great. I just want to briefly mention our solar work session and our decision. And I know that's a hot topic and people feel strongly either way. I want to compliment everybody that came to it. After it, I talked to a couple people who were ecstatic about the outcome. I talked to the representative from the solar industry, and he actually said, you guys had a tough decision. I appreciate the time you put into it. I appreciate all the work staff did and the task force. And he said it didn't come out the way I wanted, but I'm not used to going to public meetings and see everybody behave like gentlemen. He said, you guys obviously didn't agree, but you treated each other with respect, and I want to treat you guys with respect. So I really appreciate that out of somebody who was probably not happy with the decision that day, but had the guts to say that. Tonight, Manchester Valley Girls Lacrosse is playing for the state championship at 8 p.m. at Stevenson University. I have a conflict and cannot go. I'll be down in Columbia at wrestling practice. But hopefully they have a good outcome tonight. They've had a sudden death overtime game, a 1-point game, and it's not easy when you get to the top. So good luck, girls, and I know there's some parents in this building and there's some parents throughout the county who I've heard from, and yes, I know they're playing for the state champion, and I'm cheering for them. We got a great weekend coming. I'll be at the Hampstead Memorial Day celebration, and I know many others will be at many other events, and we get a 3-day weekend, so hopefully we'll all catch up with all our to-do lists while we're celebrating. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think Liberty High School is state champs
3 times.
3 times. There are 3
consecutive times.
3. That's right. So congratulations, ladies, on that achievement as well. Besides just having incredible Carroll Countyans, we have some incredible Carroll County athletes, and the graduation was really cool, and Mr. Hoover did a great job. What I want to say excited me, and I can't remember the young gentleman's name. There's a 17-year-old that graduated, and he goes to South Carroll High School, and he graduates South Carroll High School this year, and he graduates from the community college this year, and he'll be attending Brown University. Pretty impressive. I mean, that's a pretty impressive product from Carroll County. And unfortunately, I just can't remember his name, this young gentleman's name, but he also gave the students
Yes.
speech or talk afterwards and did a wonderful job. So congratulations to him, to all that have persevered, that have worked hard in their graduation from what is known as the best community college in Maryland. The Employee Appreciation Day yesterday was awesome. Always a great opportunity to spend a few hours. I got there at 11, left at 2. I was not quite late, but I got to the reception in time, but spent as much time as I could with our workforce. And we talked everything from crabbing, to activities happening, and just getting to know the people, the personal issues. And some of it wasn't, all fun. It was candid conversations, which I really appreciate. And, so I really kudos to HR, I think, had the preponderance of putting that together, and just a wonderful opportunity. Plus, there was massage chairs there, and I got the opportunity to be taken care of. So, but besides that, as shared, Memorial Day is coming up, and the podcast that I provided for this week focuses mostly on Memorial Day. It does focus on the budget that we'll be discussing later this morning and moving forward with, but really what I shared was Memorial Day, what it means to me, what I believe it should mean to our community. And I think the catalyst of me focusing on it was most recently I ordered, not to be sad about, but I ordered a headstone for my dad, who passed July 4th this past year. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I did it through the VA. the VA has benefits for every veteran that's out there, whether you are 0 disability or 100% disability. And those benefits are for you and are for the family. Yesterday, during the employee appreciation, I met a gentleman. I haven't met, but I spoke with one of our employees, and he was in the Air Force for 4 years, and from 75 to 79. He said, VA card, what's that? And I took that information, I gave it right to Celine, Gina, and Bobby, and they're going to take care of him. And so, I mean, we got to do it within ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves, but also our community. And we got a great opportunity. You know, our citizen services and our VSOs, and if you're comfortable with them, use them. If you're comfortable with somebody else, use somebody else. But the bottom line is take care of yourself and your family. And so that was the catalyst for me thinking about Memorial Day and how important it is to me as we've lost loved ones, brothers and sisters in arms, whether it's on the battlefield or off through challenging times. But it also goes to the men and women in blue and red and their family members as well. I mean, it is one big community. I'm involved with a Gold Star Teenager Adventures program, and it's just what it says. It's about teenagers who have lost their parents or parent in uniform, and they've expanded it to those in police and fire as well. And you know, getting involved with programs like that, I always say you can't boil the ocean, but if you can fix something close by, helping a neighbor, helping a friend, helping a family member, that's what it's all about. It's also about barbecues, whether people want to say that or not. It's barbecues bring people together, and it allows us to pause together and as family, friends, and neighbors. So this whole attitude of anti-barbecues and anti-sales, because that's not what Memorial Day is, I got it. But if it is a catalyst to bring people together, then that's a good thing. And recognize and pause for that moment and for every day afterwards. That to me is what Memorial Day is about. So wishing everybody a very safe and healthy long weekend. Take the opportunity to go to the parades. You can see some really cool things. The one in Westminster is, just phenomenal. Take an opportunity to eat a hot dog or a hamburger or whatever else is going to be on the grill. I think I may be going over Mr. Burke's, and he's going to cook for me, right, Mr. Burke? I'll take that as a no, but that's all right.
Kosher.
Kosher ham? No. Okay. Okay, let's get started before we go down the wrong rabbit hole. We're in the wrong rabbit hole. Let's start with assessment of special tax against property for abatement and nuisance. Mr. Burke, do you want to...
Mr. President, Mr. McDonough, the appellant, does not appear to have arrived yet.
is he-
Mr. Burke,
is he-
I do have someone on the line. Can I check and see if that's
Go
who we
ahead.
might think it is?
Yes.
Caller, I have a caller on the line. Can you please use *6 to unmute yourself and announce yourself, please?
I know. I'm waiting for the sewer discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
We'll call you back for that. Thank you. Just wait a few minutes. Thank you.
He was notified last Thursday that there was going to be a hearing today at 9 o'clock, to be here at 9 o'clock. He spoke to a member of my staff. He seemed to understand it. If the board would like, we can try and contact him while you discuss the...
What we can do is we can recess, go to Board of Health, reconvene. You can try to make contact with him
Yes,
and give him all opportunities to be present.
fair enough.
Okay, so at this time, what I need is a motion to recess and go into the Board of Health.
Make a motion to recess and go into the Board of Health.
Second.
I apologize.
Aye.
Is this,
Are you Mr. McDonough?
I am.
Okay.
I apologize. Let's belay that.
Belay that.
Let's okay. So apologize for this little bit of delay. Susan, you almost had it. You were almost there.
So close.
So close yet so far. Okay, so now, Mr. Burke.
Yes, if you look at your binder, there's an order of hearing. Let's call this hearing to order. It involves the nuisance assessment. It's going to testify today. Please stand and be sworn. Mr. McDonough, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Okay. Step one is to hear the presentation of the evidence by the Department of Public Works.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Good morning, Commissioners. With me today to my right is Craig Hahn, and to my left, Kathy Verts. Craig was our site inspector on this issue, and Kathy is Craig's supervisor. So what I will do, Commissioners, is I understand that you have been provided the packet of information. I will be reviewing it just in brevity and then available to answer any questions you have. So on August 5th, 2022, we received a phone call to Roads Operations stating that there was a 15 by 15 high trash pile that had rats and mice in it, covered in tarps and black mats. We, on August the 8th, went out, Craig did, as the inspector. He confirmed there was trash under the tarps and noted that there was, in his report, a horrible smell coming from that. As per the county code, a nuisance letter was mailed to the property owner on or around August the 9th of 2022 and emailed to our collections office to flag the account. This is standard protocol under Carroll County's code, and that's where it was. In accordance with the letter, the property owner had 20 days to correct the issue, so we went back to re-inspect on August the 29th, 2022. Nothing had occurred since the first inspection, so no cleanup had occurred. The issue on the property was sent out to bid again on September the 20th, and we used current pre-approved term contractors within the county. We only received one bid. That bid was from P2 Cleaning Services for the amount of $1,008. The award was given to P2 Cleaning Services on September the 26th of 2022, and P2 Cleaning Services abated the issue on September the 30th of 2022. The property was re-inspected, as we always do, on October the 3rd, and the project had been completed successfully. We received the invoice, we processed it for payment, and we sent a copy to our collections office for billing. Then, of note, on November the 14th of 2022, Kathy did receive a message from Mr. McDonough, and she returned his call, explained again what our process was, and he had stated that he was going to appeal, and that brings us to today. So that's our timeline, Commissioners.
You said 15 by 15. That wasn't in height, 15 feet in height, was it?
Correct?
No.
Okay. It was 15.
Yeah,
Approximately how high was it?
It says 10, about 10 foot high.
Yeah.
15 feet by 15 feet by 10 foot high.
15 feet by 15, 10 foot high. Wow. Okay.
Where did you mail these notices?
I'm sorry?
What was the address you mailed the notices to?
We mailed the notices to 217 Kirkhoff Road, Westminster, Maryland, 21158.
Okay.
And we've confirmed that that is the gentleman's
We get our
address.
information from the state database, and that is what is mailing address on the property list.
Okay, are there any questions?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Kyler? Any questions?
Just one, it's pretty standard that these kind of issues arise from a complaint.
Yes.
We don't ride around looking for them, but we get a complaint, and then because the taxpayer complains, we need to investigate.
Our process is 100% complaint-driven, and unfortunately or fortunately, it keeps us busy doing those. But once we get a complaint, we investigate the complaint and move from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Did any of your letters to the property owner come back as undelivered
No.
or unclaimed?
No.
Did you receive any response from?
No, I had not received any response until I had a phone message from my staff on, that was dated
November 10th.
November 10th at 12:55. I was out of the office. I returned on the 14th and called him back.
But between the time of the complaint to
No communication until that point.
No.
to the individual himself?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
The company that was low bid and cleaned it, did they encounter anybody at the property, you know?
Not to our knowledge, no.
But we didn't ask. You just explained.
So we have used P2 contractors on multiple occurrences throughout the county. They are a known and good contractor to us. They did not report any issues to us. And again, as I had mentioned earlier, we have few inspectors doing multiple issues. So once we contract, we allow them to perform the duties, and then we go back and re-inspect after that. But nothing was reported, sir.
Has there been any complaints since then, or no?
No, sir. We've had none reported on that address since the cleanup.
And have you had the opportunity for drive-bys? Is it still clean? Is it still,
I haven't been,
okay,
we didn't have a complaint, so I didn't
Okay.
go back.
okay. Anything else? Sir?
Mr. McDonough, do you have any questions of the staff?
I do.
Okay, if you would approach that microphone.
Are there any photos or anything of this 10-foot high, 15-foot wide trash pile?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I get a copy of those, please?
Yes, sir. I can hand you one for today.
Okay. Okay. Can I make comments, or am I going to get a...
Yeah, you're going to get your chance to make comments in a minute.
I just need the photo.
Okay.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yep.
thank you. Okay?
Any other questions of staff?
Nope, not at this time. Thanks.
Okay. If you would vacate the table, Mr. McDonough can come up to the table and...
Thanks, sir. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Robert McDonough, reside at 217 Kirkhoff Road, Westminster, Maryland, 21158.
Yes, sir.
That's
Please.
it?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. So the reason that I am here today, and I appealed this, not denying that there was trash in the driveway, which there was. So not only was there household trash, but the majority of this is construction debris. I see here in this photo that the inspector took a picture from the neighbor's yard. So what we have here in this photo, if everybody got to see it, these are not tarps. These are hot water solar heaters, okay? They are sitting on top of a 250-gallon oil tank that I had removed from the basement when I purchased the property prior to settlement. So this property has been under my active construction since the day I purchased it, roughly 3 years ago. Okay? So I don't have the problem with, I like to use the term Karen, who moved in next door from the suburbs, who now has a complaint about everybody in the yard. Where I run into an issue is I never received anything from the county in regards to this pile of debris. The first thing that I received from the county was a bill for $1,000. Then I received a letter from the county saying that they are going to sell my property if I don't pay you the $1,000, which that brings up a lot of concern for me. You know, if I received a letter, let's say for instance, animal control was called on me several times now. When they show up and my animals are in the cage where they belong, they leave a note on my door that says they were on my property, that they've been out, they have some questions, to contact them. I contact them. Obviously, I care about my property and my animals. What the inspector didn't state in here is next to this oil tank, these solar hot water heaters, was a pile of shingles that I was currently using to re-roof my house. Now, I was in a relationship for 7 years with 9 children. So you can imagine going home on a daily basis and doing your own construction yourself. I am a contractor. I work for a roofing company. I don't have $20,000 to throw out on my roof to have somebody do it. So underneath of this pile of debris, we'll call it, is roughly, pardon me, I didn't get a chance to print out everything as I have that set aside for what I'm hoping is not the next approach to this hearing. Roughly about $700 worth of building materials. I also purchased these solar panels from a homeowner for roughly $200. So you can see my concern. The county doesn't maintain my road. I have no access to public water, public sewer, no utilities from this county whatsoever, and all of a sudden, poof, we roll up to my house, we take my trash, and we send me a large bill for it. Kind of shocking, honestly. You know, back to the mail thing. So here is a congressional oversight of the mailing system, Postmaster General, here in Baltimore and surrounding areas on why people aren't receiving their mail. So apparently it's just not my issue. It's obviously a step up from where we are now issue. You know, if somebody would have sent me a letter or notified me, I would have took the trash over to the Carroll County landfill where they charge me $65 a ton for 2,000 pounds of trash. There's no way there's 2,000 pounds of trash here. What they did leave was the oil tank, the 3 cords of firewood sitting next to it that have weeds growing up around it. Apparently that wasn't an issue. Obviously trash sitting outside is an issue. I totally understand that. So I'm not sitting here telling you, oh no, this was not, none of this. Yeah, there was trash out there. There's construction debris out there. You know, I'm paying some kid down the road $100 to come in with his trailer and remove trash. I've had a 40-foot container in my yard back in August to remove other debris off of my property. So by no means am I a slacker. I just feel like at this point, somebody should have notified me. Anybody in this room can pull up case search, property search. You got my name, you got my email, you got my phone number, and yet nothing except for a final bill. I find it quite shocking. So what is my choice now? Pay the $1,000 or you're gonna sell my property that this county really does nothing for me on my property? Yes, you guys pave the roads, you put in the shopping centers. I get it, school systems. My kids go to all these schools. I don't have a problem paying my taxes or paying my bills or maintaining my property. What I do have a problem with are people coming out on my property, trespassing, stealing my materials, and then sending me a bill for it. So, this is all new to me. I'm not by any means a lawyer. I'm trying to do all this as I can. I've called Brenda, who sends the bill. I've called roads, I've called zoning, I've called this office many times. I've talked to the attorney for the county on several occasions. You know, it says in here somewhere when I file an appeal, somewhere 45 days roughly it would take me to be sitting where I am now. I appealed this in November. Every time I call here, I get a runaround. Oh, well, I don't know. Or, oh, I sent it over. Or I personally brought a letter here and delivered it downstairs after I talked to the attorney for the third time, who said, oh, just go ahead and mail in a letter. Well, apparently that doesn't work here. So I personally delivered it to you gentlemen. You tell me, hey, you know, this is $400 or $500 worth of trash and you're going to stick the bill to me, I'll accept it. But I'm not. $1,000 is outrageous. So I've called all the companies around here to remove trash. None of them are cheap. I mean, we don't have a county system that comes around and cleans up trash or maintains roads or cuts grass. We just subcontract out everything. I don't know. I do sales. I'm in a home improvement business. First thing people ask me, do you do your own work or do you subcontract it? Seems people don't like subcontractors. And I sure don't like subcontractors that are going to come in my property and steal my materials when it's clearly posted, no trespassing, do not enter. I feel a little overreach here, so I feel a certain way about all of this. Again, I'm taking off my day of work to be here. You know, again, some communication. If I don't call my customers, we have issues. They're upset, they're pissed off, whatever the day may bring, but again, nothing in the mail. I have photos of mail that comes to my house half shredded up from the post office with an apology letter. I don't know, do we have a mail dog that eats it? How do you shred off half of an envelope coming through the mail? You know, questions I got. Has anybody been back to the property? Has anybody notified me other than, here's your $1,000 bill? Which I think is a little ridiculous. And that's all I got.
Okay. So, a few questions. Do you recall the attorney you spoke to 3 times?
Jim, county attorney, Jim Allman.
Thanks.
Assistant County
Yep,
Attorney.
Jim Allman.
And you had conversation with him 3 times?
I believe 3 times with him.
Okay. And that was in November?
No, actually, when Jim contacted me was, I'm going to say the first time roughly 2 months ago, month and a half ago. That was to inform me that my appeal was sent to the wrong place, that I could go ahead and resubmit a new one, and the county would accept it. So after that, I've called multiple times trying to find out what's going on with the appeal, who's got it, is it here, you know, last I heard it was up here at the commissioner's desk, you know, it was in front of them. 3 weeks later, I'm calling back with still no answer, no nothing. Did you mail me a letter? Am I not getting it? I've talked to Brenda, I don't know, a couple dozen times, who just finally called me after the attorney called me back to tell me when my hearing date was, that she still hasn't heard from anybody. She can't get any answers. She doesn't know what's going on, but she's going to halt the sale of my property for me.
Brenda who?
Brenda, I believe here at the cashier clerks.
And Brenda shared with you that your property was going to be sold?
Yeah, everything goes through her. I mean, this letter right here, I called her back and, you know, hide anything from anybody. It's kind of a roads, zoning, everybody.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I have one question. You mentioned you had called 3 times and spoken to the county's attorney's office. You also mentioned you had brought a letter in and
Yes,
dropped
sir.
it off in person. Do you know who you gave that letter to, just out of curiosity?
A younger lady, not the lady that's working downstairs now. And that's probably been 4 weeks ago,
Okay, but that was
roughly.
left with the individual at the front desk then, I
Yes,
assume?
and I'm sure through the mounds of paperwork that I have probably jotted her name down
Okay,
somewhere as
I
well.
appreciate that.
I have 2 questions. The first one, you probably don't have to answer if you don't want to, but is this the first time you've had any sort of interaction with the county regarding any nuisance on your property, any complaints, anything like that? In other words, aside from this particular episode, if you want to call it that, have you ever had any other?
I mean, animal
Anything
control has
similar to
been by
this?
my property
Okay.
twice, I believe, and
Okay.
my animals are where they're supposed to be. I have no other complaints. There's been,
But nothing in the realm of debris or things of that nature?
no, sir.
Okay. And then my second question is, you've mentioned a couple times, and Commissioner Rothstein referenced this, you're saying you've got something in writing saying that we're going to sell your property, or is this just an aspect of if you don't pay lien?
Well,
or
this one
what's
is
what's the date on
based-
that letter?
So this is dated October 28, 2022.
Don't know if I have that letter.
So I do have another letter somewhere that is pretty much the same thing, but basically telling me that the property is going to be auctioned off, I believe, today. I don't have that paper with me, but another copy that they sent me from the offices here.
So, yeah, I apologize. Keep going with that. Yeah.
You can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I understand what that means.
Yeah.
So-
Same. And the letter you said is dated October 8th?
This is dated October 28th.
October 28th. I apologize. And is that when you received it?
So, no, I received this, well, that would be right when we were having the elections going on. I received it that Saturday in the mail.
Okay.
I tried to call office, everything was closed, I believe, that Monday for elections. So whatever the following work day was after the election,
Right.
the governor election, I
Yeah,
believe it
yeah,
was,
yep.
is when I first got in contact with someone,
So basically, second week of November.
basically.
Okay. Do we have that letter in here at all, or no?
I don't think so.
I don't see it.
We did not include it in our packet, Commissioner. It is a letter that comes from collections. It's separate, but the letter did come on November 28th, 2022, which also outlined the ability to appeal in that letter and what the charges were.
Two
So,
letters.
say again?
2 letters. One in October, one in November.
So you received these letters mid-November telling you how to appeal this process.
Yes.
So you were aware of what was going on back then. Okay.
So as soon as I got this letter, I contacted our offices here to appeal this. Yes.
Is this the first time that you were aware that the county was going to engage on your property?
The very first time.
Except that they came onto your property and took away whatever was under this tarp.
Right. Which is, again, not really a tarp. It's,
Right. But when that happened, who did you notify? I mean, if were you aware that when it was happening, did you feel like somebody stole property off of?
well, at this point, I feel like somebody stole property.
So did you report it?
No, I called here first because I received this letter.
But
So
I'm just trying
did
to
I
work
just
time.
get home and feel like, hey, somebody showed up and randomly stole all my stuff? I mean, I was kind of shocked by it. I really thought my girlfriend had called somebody and the guy showed up and took the trash away. I'm ready to chew him out. So I don't.
September 20th, things were removed off of your property.
Yes.
You,
Around or about.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out the timeline. You received this letter October 28th, got that, but in between September 20th and October 28th, did you do anything as far as calling somebody to say what happened to all this property? Because you said it was valuable. It was $700 plus a lot more. I mean, you're talking $1,000 of your property was taken.
So what I had my girlfriend do at the time, who hired the guy to come in and remove the trash, was to get a hold of him and find out if he took the shingles and the hot water heaters, which I can go back through emails. I don't know, roughly a week later, did I call the sheriff's department and say, hey, somebody magically showed up and stole my trash? No.
But you said it's not trash. You said
Well,
it
it's
was
building material underneath.
$700 of building
Yeah,
material
I mean,
and shingles.
If I put a value on it, absolutely. So that's my confusion. Somebody just shows up. We've already hired a person to come in and remove trash off the property, okay? I come home from work. She calls me, hey, did you take the trash? No. Call your guy, see if he took the trash. Why are you calling me? Because somebody came and picked up the trash that we told him to come and get.
On September 20th,
Okay?
give or take.
So in between September 20th and when I got this letter, I got 2 kids joining the United States Army. I got work. I got bills. I got 8 more kids, 6 more kids, softball, baseball. Did I really care about it at this point in time? No, because I work for a roofing company. Can I get more material? I absolutely can. But to get a $1,000 bill that says, hey, you know, you had trash underneath of tarps, which is not really the case, but
combined with the building materials and the shingles,
Mm-hmm.
was there trash?
yes.
Was there, at any given time that you were aware of any smells or rodents or anything like that?
No. And being combined, do I mean was the trash sitting on top of my roofing materials? No. Were they next to each other? Yes.
Underneath the,
Well, see, these hot water panels are only lapped over the back of this 200-gallon oil tank. There's no camouflaging of debris over here. So I'm not trying to hide it. You know, again, the neighbor could have been like, hey, what are you guys doing with the trash? I'm having it removed. I'm gutting a bathroom. I got 2 holes in the ceiling upstairs for multiple leaks. I got hot water heaters I'm replacing. Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
at any time prior to any of this, did this neighbor or any other neighbor reach out to you and say, there's an issue?
No. So the neighbor to the left of me, he works for the fire department. So he's not really home much as his mother is. You know, really no complaints from him. I don't even see the homeowner, but maybe once or twice a week as he walks in and out of his house. He's never come over and said, hey, Bob, you know, can we just move this or tarp it or anything? Nothing. I mean,
Any questions, comments?
Commissioner Rothstein, I have a couple of questions. We may have to ask Doug to come back up. And anybody who's there, I apologize for not being there. I'm getting over some illness, so I apologize if my
That's
voice
right.
is a bit
Keep
off.
going, Commissioner Vigliotti.
Thank you. So, do we have any idea how long the trash pile had been there to begin with? I did home improvement and light construction in the past, and it's not uncommon to leave debris or whatever lying around the job site for a couple of days before it could be removed. So how long was this this pile in question there?
So I would say that pile was probably sitting there for 20, 30 days.
So a pretty reasonable, pretty lengthy amount of time. Okay. And Doug, could you very briefly go over what the standard process is for how someone is notified of an issue, of a nuisance? How many letters are sent out? What's the general time period? That kind of thing.
So, Commissioner, when we are, again, complaint-driven, and once the complaint is received, then the first possible occurrence, we send an inspector to the site. In this particular case, we did not have an inspector. The inspector inspected the site from the side of it because the property owner had it marked no trespassing, but more peculiar was beware of dog. So we didn't want to take the issue of having it in there. They go and inspect, see if they are able to see the hazard. They see the hazard. Now, if they are able to get on the property, they certainly try to knock on the door, and they would have put a door tag. But because of the beware of dog sign and the way it was posted, they did not. Back to the office, then a letter is drafted and sent. That is identified in the code of how we are to handle these events. The code says that we are to communicate via letter to the property owner. That is then done, and then a reinspection occurs 20 days or shortly thereafter after the initial inspection and letter. And then if nothing is said at that point, we move forward. We do use, again, the State of Maryland public record database, but that does not include such things as phone number or any other personal information or personally identifiable information, and we do not conduct any further, background investigations, if you will, onto property owners. That's the process.
And Doug, I'm sorry, I've got two more questions for you. I apologize. So how often do you typically find that residents do not respond to a nuisance complaint letter? And when they do not respond, do you have any idea of the reasons for why someone might not respond?
Do you know non-compliance wise? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking to my left. Kathy Verts, our administrative supervisor, is saying that it is on very rare occasion that people do not respond to us. But that being said, we do have those occasions when it does not, we do not get a response, and we go out and abate based on the letter. But it is not the normal, if you would say, Commissioner.
Okay. And then my last question, and something I was trying to figure out for a few minutes. So I know the gentleman up there had mentioned, Mr. McDonough had mentioned that certain things. I guess you'd spoken, I think you said to your girlfriend or your wife, fiance, yes, about removing certain trash from that area, from that pile?
Yes.
And you weren't sure who removed what?
At first, I was under the impression that the gentleman she hired came in and removed it. Then I got the letter from the county saying that the county removed it.
So and everything that was removed from the trash pile that you were, I apologize. I thought you had mentioned that you had previously thought that somebody, I know you just said that you thought that she had come in or had somebody come in to remove certain things. But I guess the question that I'm sorry, what I'm trying to get to is that you had trash mixed in with construction stuff, but then you had mentioned that you had a hot water heater and something else that were not taken from the pile?
Yes, the oil tank.
Okay, thank you. And Doug, do we have an inventory or a list of what was removed from the trash pile?
No, sir.
Okay. But basically, once the county had removed or had the trash removed, that the pile that was in question was not there outside of the the oil heater or the oil tank.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then, thank you. That's all the questions I have for this moment.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Vigliotti, and I gotta keep looking at the screen, knowing that you are not to my left, but in front of me, so I apologize. Mr. McDonough, you received the October 28th letter in the mail.
Yes.
You're saying you did not receive the August 8th letter in the mail,
Correct.
and you still have never received that letter?
Correct.
Okay.
I do have one quick follow-up question. Mr. Brown, when we send letters of notice out, are they typically sent first class, or we send those registered that they have to sign for, or what is the process for that?
It's first class.
Yeah,
Yep.
we used to do certified, but it got so expensive, and with doing 300 to 400 to 500 of these a year.
No, I understand.
It just got.
Became cost prohibitive for the certified.
I know they're not exactly cheap to do. I just was curious.
Yes, sir. So first class mail. And again, normally very successful. We do receive contact in the majority of cases.
Okay, thank you.
So the reason that I bring up the building material, not asking to be reimbursed for it, okay? All these companies that I've reached out to, everything is done by weight for the general part. Others do a quarter of a truck, a half of a truck. So it seems like it's a flat rate. So with the companies that I've reached out to, and I'm sure this BP was one of them, it's about a $700 fee for them to show up and remove trash. So, I mean, we're roughly just charging everybody $700 to remove their trash. I'm not sure where the other $308 falls into that. I'm sure it's administration fees or something that goes along with it, but it just seems a little extreme. I mean, really, we're talking $65 a ton at the landfill, 2,000 pounds. There's not 2,000 pounds of trash here, by no means. If I just calculate this in the biggest bag that I could store out here, say there's, 20, 60 bags at 20, 30 pounds a piece, we're roughly talking 1,200 pounds. $1,000 for removing it just seems quite extreme.
Okay.
Mr. McDonough, can I ask? You said that you do contracting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you go to a job, and I'm not sure of the cost breakdown here. I'm working through a couple of things. So when you go to a job, you don't just charge people for materials. You charge for labor, for the time that you're involved in the job, correct?
Yes, sir.
You have to pay people to go to actually go out to the field to work. So I would guess that part of this is not just the weight of the trash that was removed, but the labor, the manpower that was required to go out to do it, plus gas, I would imagine. I don't know, Doug, maybe you can speak to that part of it, but
So this company is based in Laurel. They are one of our term contractors, and like any company, they have mobilization fees. So to get the employees from their location to the site and back, any risk that might be involved in that, and then moving. So there certainly are, additional overhead costs, I'm sure, as are with any of our folks that we use, or frankly, whether it would be a county employee, there are hourly salaries, vehicle charges, and other things.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Was that you, Mr. Swam, or
Sorry, there's a caller snuck in. Sorry.
is some, okay. Mr. Burke?
No, anything you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Now it's up to us.
Yes.
And we have a decision to make on either moving forward with the assessment. We can overrule the assessment that's been made, or we can be creative in our own way in providing a different type of assessment. So it's open for conversation, and I'm not going to forget you this time, Commissioner Vigliotti. So if you do have something to share, feel free. Any thoughts? It doesn't happen often. Our role is judicial. This is one of them, and it's an important one, so.
I'll try a motion and see what you guys think of it. I move we deny the appeal, but we reduce the abatement assessment to $750, which I think you came, you testified, who knows about the mail. I think our people did everything right. And the unfortunate part of my motion, I hate to say this before I get a second, that means the taxpayers of Carroll County are paying the remainder.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, well, I apologize. That is a motion. So there's a motion on the dais or on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion, I have a second, open for discussion, and I can honestly share with you that's the direction I was going as well. But it is open for discussion. So, any?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank the staff for what you do. We all know you do a good job. We're very appreciative of what you do and how you go about it. And I also want to thank Mr. McDonough for being here. You clearly prepared for today. You're not making our decision any easier, so that's a good thing if you're sitting there. I think there's some mitigating circumstances, I guess, that's a legal term, which is why I'm supporting a reduction in the assessment.
Extenuating circumstances. I remember these things. It's all that lawyer stuff. Mr. Vigliotti, you have any comments, any thoughts?
I'm inclined to agree with the motion. Hearing that the pile in question had been there for basically about a month with nothing happening to it, knowing that giving the gentleman the benefit of the doubt with the mail not being received, and knowing that our guys did what they needed to do, plus knowing the cost assessment of what had to happen, I think that Commissioner Kyler's motion is certainly in order.
Okay. The only other comment one of you made about taxpayer, I agree. Whether it's a penny, a dollar, $1,000, or X amount, it's on an individual or it's on our community. And that $258 is going to be on our taxpayers and our community. So that should never be taken lightly. Again, whether it's a dollar to X amount. Okay, I think enough was said. I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Thank you, sir, very much. Okay?
Thank you, and thank you, staff.
Okay, what I need is a motion to recess and go into the Board of Health.
Motion to recess and go into the Board of Health.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's get set up for the Board of Health.
Somebody's gonna have to pull another.
I'm sure you guys deal with this every day. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning.
Sometimes the few dollars are the toughest to
Oh, I know. Yep.
That's what's difficult. And we've had more judicial issues in 6 months than we had in 4 years, probably.
Oops. That's not what I wanted to do.
Bear with us, Ms. Doyle, and
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the simplest task, unmuting myself or finding out how to start the slideshow. Did we get the? You get it. So
We have the slide deck, but it's up to
we
you.
have the slide deck, and we have something else for you.
Oh, okay.
So what we decided to present, and I think you might have seen our press release a couple of weeks ago, was Robert Woods Johnson does the Healthy Communities, in which they rank all of the counties in the United States, and we wanted to present that information. That slide presentation I handed you is very busy. It actually goes across multiple years. I wanted you to have it so that you could see where we've been previously, where we're trending, and then we've decided to pick a couple of programs we're doing at the health department that intersect with those things and highlight those for you. And then if there's any other questions afterwards, when you look at this information, we have Epi Amy, as we like to refer to her, and she can dig into the data, and she can get us any other information you'd like to know.
And this comes from Robert Woods Johnson.
Robert Woods Johnson.
New Jersey, it's where it's at.
Is it?
It's also where my brother got his medical degree. Robert Woods Johnson is part of Rutgers. So.
I have been there several times.
And so have I. Very good school.
So community health rankings, I'm going to give you a little preliminary, then the team's going to give you a couple of the programs that we work on, the good, the bad, and where we're trending. It's county level health data for most counties in all 50 states. Contains a variety of data sources, time frames, there's weighting that goes along with it. I've been asked to make sure that I highlight when you look at those things, there's asterisks. If Robert Woods Johnson was not able to use the same metric and they had to use a different metric, sometimes that causes some fluctuations. And I just wanted to preface that in the beginning. So it's published annually in March. And by the University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute. We usually fluctuate between ranking 3rd and 4th, so we flip around with Frederick County most of the time on that. It actually looks at the length of life, the quality of life, health behaviors, clinical care, social and economic factors, as well as physical and environmental factors. It highlights areas of strength, and it provides examples of best practices in areas of need. Carroll County is ranked the 4th healthiest county in the state of Maryland for 2023. Those health outcomes, Carroll's 4th in Maryland. It measures how healthy the county is right now. It's a point-in-time study, and it's based on the measures in 2 categories, length of life and quality of life. Length of life, we place 6th. Quality of life, we place 3rd. Health factors, Carroll's 4th in Maryland. The estimates for the future health of the county, this estimates the future health of the county. It's based on measures in 4 categories, which are health behaviors, which we ranked 3rd, clinical care, which we rate 5th, social and economic factors, which we rate 2nd, and physical environmental factors, which we rate 24th. And we're going to give you some insight on that, because some of those things are things we have no control over. So I'm going to turn this over to Tierney, our Director of Nursing.
So good morning, Tierney Youngling, the Director of Nursing. So I'll touch on 3 of the data points. One is the sexually transmitted infections, then uninsured and dental. So the sexually transmitted infections, you can see the data here. We are doing better than the state of Maryland, but I do want to note that we are seeing an increase overall in sexually transmitted infections, state, nationwide, and the data points that you're looking at, it's also on the slide here, that there was a reduced number of reporting and also people that were accessing care due to COVID. So you'll also see that chlamydia was the number 2 reported communicable disease in 2020. That was because the number 1 reportable disease in 2020 was COVID. So prior to that, chlamydia had been our number 1 reported communicable disease in Carroll County prior to that. So just wanted to note that, and we can go to the next slide. So what are we doing about this in Carroll County, specifically at the health department? We do have a reproductive health program at the health department, and you'll see the number of services that we offer, including testing for sexually transmitted infections, as well as treatment as well. We do a lot of community outreach, attending events, and we will be having a mobile unit that will hopefully be on the road later this this summer, we'll be offering a number of services that the health department provides, but then also being able to provide testing on that mobile unit as well and linkage to treatment. So that is.
So,
Yeah.
Mhm,
Go
sure.
ahead.
yeah, and like a lot of things, you seem to have a lot of patient visits, but are people reluctant to come forward? Is there, what do you do to try to encourage and people to see the need?
Absolutely. I mean, it's huge with public messaging, getting that word out of the need to be tested. So social media, pushing things out on social media, and then letting people know that we are a resource, that they can come to us. Everything is confidential. Even if we go out to a location to provide testing, we're making sure that we're doing that confidentially as well. So just as much as we can possibly push the word out to people in whatever way that we can.
What
Community
qualifies?
outreach is huge.
What qualifies folks for getting these exams?
Oh, good point too. At the health department, it's on I think it's on this slide, right? Medical assistants, private insurance, people that have no insurance at all, so they can come to the health department and receive the services in our reproductive health program.
Because a lot of those folks, many of them I would expect, don't have the connections and relationships to the social media or the wherewithal. And it can be difficult to find.
So one of
community.
the issues that we're trying to address with the mobile unit is health equity. We've identified, and this actually came prior to COVID, when I had a crazy idea about applying to get a mobile unit, and Ed Singer at the time went with me on that. And what we decided was there are pockets in this community where there are limitations of services.
Right.
So in Hampstead, Manchester area, there's limited behavioral health services. In the Tawnytown area, we know that there's limited resources to medical connections. In Mount Airy, it's very difficult for us to determine because there's a cross-section of 3 counties there. So we look at, do we have access, whether it's in any of those 3 counties, we look for pockets of population. When we first originally applied for the RV, it was through substance abuse funding, and it was to do outreach for behavioral health measures. Once we started talking about it at the health department, before we ever got it there, we decided as a team in leadership that we didn't want to limit what we were doing on that vehicle to just behavioral health services. So we're going to be doing birth and death certificates. We're going to be providing nursing services. If there's an opportunity for our environmental health team to be on there with their Safe Kids programs or anything like that, we're going to be making sure that those are available, and we're looking for, or we've identified at this point, some community partners where we can park these our RV and have resources there. And we have 3 fire halls that have expressed an interest, and then we have a couple of churches that have expressed an interest, and so that's what we're going to be doing.
That's great.
And nothing that we do is in a silo of just the health department. Everything that we do is through collaborations and partnerships, whether it's with the hospital, whether it's with the LMB, whether it's with other community-based providers. We bring people in, and we try to plan for the best for everybody.
Right. Thank you. So the next is insurance coverage, and this will also be a part of the mobile unit too, so making sure that we're linking individuals to medical assistance, or if they needed, or if they don't qualify for medical assistance, linking them to being able to the health exchange. So you'll see that Carroll County overall does fairly well. We have a 4% those that are uninsured compared to Maryland, which is 7% overall, so lower than the state. And then we do have programs at the health department, again, that medical assistance program where individuals can get applications, help with the application process, and then also our administrative care coordination unit. So once people get their medical assistance, we have a program that helps them navigate the system and access the care that they need. So very important, and again, this is also something that we want to put on the mobile unit to be able to provide that service to areas of the county so that we can make sure that people are getting those applications done for their medical assistance if they're eligible.
Probably another key thing to note here is if somebody comes in for a service and we find that they don't have insurance or they're eligible for medical assistance, they are immediately taken to that unit, and the application has begun, and we try to make sure that we make that linkage right there. So you can come for one service, you can get 6 that day because we've identified that you have access. You're eligible for those things.
And the third data point that I'll be talking about is dental services, dental providers. As you can see, the data point is showing that we have a fewer number of dental providers per population than the state of Maryland. And at the health department, we have a dental clinic. Specifically, we see the pediatric population and pregnant women who have medical assistance. It's called Maryland Healthy Smiles. So there's a list of all the services that we provide. We are currently working on looking at our workflows to see how we can increase the number of clients that we see on a weekly basis, because obviously we see that there is a need for that, so we are actively working on that as well.
What
Access
about,
Carol provides services to the
Yes.
adult community.
Okay, so geriatric dental is through Access Carol.
They do anything but pediatric. We do the pediatrics. One of
You
the
don't do anything but pediatrics. Okay.
Pregnant women too with medical assistance.
Okay.
So one of the areas that the state enhanced this year was that anybody, as of January 1st, who had medical assistance has access to a dental program. And this is an area that's of concern to us because there are not a lot of participating dentists because, as you can see, we don't have enough dentists to begin with, but there's not enough dentists that participate in Healthy Smiles to accommodate everybody that needs dental services. So we're looking at how we can expand what we're doing and expand what Access Carol's possibly doing.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Marie Leddick. I'm the Deputy Director for the Local Behavioral Health Authority and the Bureau of Prevention, Wellness, and Recovery at the Health Department. Some of the topics that we picked to highlight today are regarding poor mental health days, as well as binge drinking and our prevention services. So looking at the data, in 2020, Carroll County adults reported that their mental health was not good on an average of 4.5 out of 30 days. So in a 1 month's timing, 4.5 days. So you figure roughly once a week, people were reporting not good mental health days. In comparison to the state of Maryland, which was 4.1 out of 30 days. So we're not that far behind, but there is still a lag compared to the state of Maryland. A lot of factors could tie into that if you're looking at the date of the data. And personally, 4.5, I don't think once a week is terrible to not feel, mentally healthy, I guess, if you think about all the things we have going on in our lives, especially today. But the ways that we're looking to address that countywide and actually nationwide is the 988 National Crisis Line. I don't know if you all have not heard of that yet, but you should have. 211 is going to be slowly progressing into 988. So right now we are using both lines, but we are trying to promote 988 as it is a national crisis hotline. We want that to be as familiar to people as 911 for behavioral health. So anything you can do to promote that. If anybody wants any materials, we have them at the health department. We can give them out whenever needed. We're also looking at our mobile crisis expansion. So you are all probably familiar with our current mobile crisis team, Sante. They provide hours of 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. However, we're looking at an expansion to move to a 24/7 model eventually. Through GBRICS, our Greater Baltimore Regional Integrated Crisis System, we've been able to add on a team, an overnight team, for the entire county of Carroll County. And that is also through Sante, but it's through another pot of funds, but through the GBRICS initiative. We also have the Behavioral Health Advisory Council, which you are very much aware of, for participation on that advisory council, and that is to get all of our providers in the community, to come together in strategic plan for our behavioral health and crisis needs in the county. We're also working with our community partners to reduce stigma of seeking treatment. We want people to feel comfortable in coming forward and saying, I may need some help with some things I'm going through. So really reducing that stigma and encouraging people to seek treatment when they feel it's needed.
How are you doing that? What are some of the projects, programs, working with the community partners?
So we had our care campaign with a community partnership to reduce stigma. Care enough to start a conversation with individuals, whether it's over a cup of coffee, out in the grocery store, whatever it might be. If you see that somebody may not be having a good day, ask them, are you okay? Don't be afraid to start a conversation with somebody about that. And then in turn, you may not be able to be the one to then provide the treatment that the person may need, but you can at least get them into that direction, let them know you care. Same thing with our mental health first aid classes. right? I don't know if anyone's ever attended Mental Health First Aid. We have it for an adult curriculum, also a child curriculum, and then we also have one for law enforcement that we do. And that is also learning about signs and symptoms when you're maybe realizing a crisis may be happening in front of you, and ways that you can, it's like CPR, but for mental health, a way to put a Band-Aid on it until you can get that person to the help they need. So we're definitely working on campaigns.
That program's offered monthly in a partnership with the community college, free of charge to anybody in the county. We provide the instructors, the college provides the setting for us. They do the registrations, and we purchase all the materials and make sure that people can, avail themselves of what's out there for them and help to de-escalate a situation instead of making a situation worse.
Just out of curiosity, how are we mental health-wise with, I guess I would say, youth suicide? I know for a number of years we've been rather high in comparison, I believe, to other counties. Are we seeing any change in that?
We have a slight decrease last time that we looked at the data. I think I talked about that the last time I was here, which I respect that you were not. We are getting ready to dig into that data, and we're going to be bringing in all of our partners. So we'll be bringing in the hospital, we'll be bringing in law enforcement, and we'll be bringing in our community providers. And we'd like to set up a team to look at what we're facing, and then what initiatives we can bring forward in our community to address that. And I think that's addressed on a future slide.
Yeah, a lot of that's our prevention efforts within the school system.
I appreciate that. I was just very curious how we were standing at this point. So glad to hear you're looking at that.
Yes, that has been a huge concern of ours, and we respectfully call her Epi Amy. But with the time that we were qualified as the highest in the state, our epidemiologists determined that that they had made an error in the data, how they did the data, and that it wasn't really as bad, even though anything is bad, that it was not to the level that the state had us at. So we were happy to hear that, and we were glad that we have somebody on our team that can dig into that data and tell us, no, they did this calculation wrong. So that we are dealing in facts. If we're not dealing in facts and we're not looking at everything around us, we're not able to create plans and create programs that are effective for the community.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
And I believe, we're on our last round of Sources of Strength. I think after this year, we'll have a Sources of Strength program in each middle and each high school. So our prevention team works with the school system to address that.
We looked at our mental health provider data. So when we're looking at this, we're looking at how many providers do we have in the county per person. So in Carroll County, we have one mental health provider per 400 people, as opposed to the state of Maryland that has one per 310. So that could be for a number of reasons. You've got counties in Baltimore City, where it's very plentiful of resources. That can be due to accessibility, physically accessibility for people to be able to walk to services, take transportation to services. It may be a place where providers want to set up shop because they'll have a lot of business.
The other thing about that is, numbers like this are never going to be 100% accurate. I see a psychiatrist in Finksburg. Her main office is in Baltimore. She comes out to Finksburg, once a week, I think, or something like that, but I take advantage of that. So is she Carroll County, or is she's somewhere else? I would think.
So she is, but they still need, and we'll get to this here, she needs to still have an agreement to cooperate with us here in Carroll County.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
As long as she has a shop here, so to speak, we do need to be, as long as and she accepts public behavioral health system funds.
Yeah.
So she would have to accept Medicaid in order for us to be a provider with her.
I don't know, but okay. Okay,
Well,
so there is accountability. So I appreciate that. So what you're telling me is there is accountability of mental health providers that are licensed and coming into Carroll County.
Yes, and I actually have really good news for that in the next piece. We are getting an influx of new providers opening, or in the process of opening here in Carroll County for a different array of services. We've got about 10 within the last few years that have opened shop here. one of the things that we do with them is we do have our monthly provider meetings. We believe very much in a relationship with people, right? It's a relationship that's going to help you guys help us work together collaboratively to meet the needs of the community. So anytime we know that somebody is looking to become licensed to provide a service in Carroll County for behavioral health resources that accept Medicaid funds, we have to sign an agreement to cooperate with them. That is something that is needed for their licensure, for them to be licensed in the state of Maryland. So once we receive an agreement to cooperate with the providers looking to open up here in Carroll County, we make an effort to, we send them a welcome letter. We go out and meet them. We do a site visit of the wherever they're located. One of the reasons we did that too is because we don't want people opening up shop in someone's backyard in a shed, or we need to make sure that what they're doing is legal and appropriate for our individuals. So we do go out, we meet with them, we invite them to a provider council meeting, so we have once a month. All of the providers in Carroll County are welcome to come join us, to be amongst their peers and to hear information from us that we may have from the state level that we want to share with them, or that we can provide any technical assistance for them. It's a time for them to get together and talk with each other, what's working, what's not working, who may have availabilities, who doesn't. So it's a great networking. We just started going back to in-person for providing those meetings. We actually do a hybrid. We allow people to attend virtually as well, but we like getting the feel of people meeting again and talking again, because a lot of conversation happens after those meetings, which is what's so important. So we really do we try to do the best job that we can to support our providers so that they want to work here in Carroll County.
So during COVID, that group grew exponentially. We used to have 30 to 40 people show up at the health department for our provider council meetings, and we had a list of 125 people during COVID. We had people who were never interested in before because they wanted to know what was going on and they wanted to understand the processes. We were able to get information on how to use telehealth and whether or not telephonic services were, and we were able to work with those providers to make sure. We had 2 providers in the county who were given grants to buy smartphones and tablets so that their accessibility was there for people who lived in areas. They were actually able to purchase hotspots, I believe, so that people who live in areas where there was poor internet, they were able to get those telehealth services that they needed in those areas. So we're about, supporting what the community needs and what the community wants to do. And once a year, one of the things I don't think's on our slide presentation is the Behavioral Health Authority holds a retreat. And the first part of the day is the providers in the community, and we talk about the goals and objectives on the strategic plan and what the community needs and where we see the gaps and barriers and challenges. And the second part of the day, we also invite our ancillary partners in, which are law enforcement, drug court, all of the, health and human services, all of those types of programs in to talk to us about changes that have happened legislatively or changes to their programs that might impact the behavioral health system of care in Carroll County. So we want to make sure that communication is open, and that's how we get participation in our behavioral health plan for the county and what we're going to do.
And while you're still on recovery and mental health, I've got a question about facilities. Currently, I'm dealing with Joseph S. Massey unit, which is Allegheny County, and I know it's not you guys. I'm curious how they all work, and maybe you need to direct me to somebody. So I called up there, and naturally, I got admissions, and they were not allowed to tell you if somebody's here or not here. I understand that. And I said, what's the visitation policy? We don't allow visitors. I said, why not? And don't yell at me yet. Because of COVID. And I said, well, that's kind of over. Well, we restricted visitors during that time, and nobody's ever changed it. So I said, on your site, you encourage family group counseling. That's going to be hard to do if we can't come. But what is that in process to change? What do we do with that? Fortunately, the patient called an hour later and said, I need a pair of jeans, and I need this, I need that, and we mailed it thinking, I'm not how happy they'd be if we showed up at the door. But it's very hard to communicate, and this touches everybody. I hope you don't mind me bringing up personal, but I'm dealing with that right now, and we've dealt with that a lot of years, but I don't know what we can do to help with the communication. And if they said to me, John Smith is currently, we don't think he should have visitors, and I even said, lots of places you want 2 weeks to let them settle down. We don't want visitors coming in too soon. Or you might say, right now his state doesn't allow visitors. But when you just say, well, we just don't allow them because we can, that's scary a little bit.
I can't speak specifically for Massey Unit. I can tell you that the programs that are in Carroll County are allowing visitation, that there was a period of time that they did not, but they do encourage the family to come in. They do encourage family education on the disease concept, and they do, so I can get you a contact for Allegheny County. I will email it to you. So that you can talk to them about whether or not, I know that every facility for a period of time was allowed to do what they were comfortable with, but I do agree with you that we're at a spot now that we should be encouraging that. We know that how important that is to a person's recovery and to their stability when they come home.
And I didn't know whether to go to Allegheny County or go to the state, what level did this, and I don't want to get into history, but it didn't seem like the state communicated well with all the individual counties different periods of time, so I wasn't sure which way to go. I know, don't laugh.
That's an understatement.
Communication is an interesting thing. It's really helpful.
I'm being tactful today.
Your communication is very helpful too.
I would start
Okay,
with
so if you could get me
I will
somebody,
give you
I'd
that
appreciate
information.
it.
Anytime you need
And I'm
assistance
glad
with
you
anything,
put
please
mental
just reach
health
out.
and recovery together, because
Absolutely.
I don't know how you separate them.
All right, Marie, you're still going.
Yep. So we're also going to talk a little bit about our binge drinking and driving data. So it's interesting in that our binge drinking is higher than the state of Maryland, yet our drinking and driving data is lower, which I guess is a good thing. The binge drinking, not so much, but the fact that people, fortunately, are not getting behind the wheel after they've been binge drinking. So in 2020, 19% of Carroll County adults aged 18 and over reported binge or heavy drinking. In 2020, 15% of Maryland adults 18 and above reported binge and heavy drinking. So there is that little bit of increased number for Carroll County residents. I'm not sure what that might be, the reason for. I can tell you that at first I thought, well, maybe it was our community college and our college here, local proximity to Westminster. But if you think about it, throughout the whole state of Maryland, there's a ton of universities and colleges, so I don't know that that's quite the reason why. During 2016 to 2020, approximately 24% of driving deaths in Carroll County involved alcohol compared to 28 in Maryland. So we are lower than the state in the actual driving data.
So the fundamental question is, how do you define binge drinking and heavy drinking?
So that is a really good question. I wish I had Amy Liddell here with me, who's the director, who's supervisor of prevention. Binge drinking would be considered, you may not drink all week long, and then you save it for the weekend, and you consume as many drinks in that weekend that you would have done all week. So maybe, 5, 6, 7 drinks.
5 or more drinks on one occasion.
Say again?
Binge.
5 or more drinks on one occasion for a man.
5 or more
It's
drinks.
for women, it's 3 or more drinks on one occasion. So if you go out and you drink 5 or more drinks on one occasion in an afternoon or something like that, they consider that binge drinking.
Okay. No, I mean, that's fair. I mean, you just to use standards, I mean, is good. So
That's probably something when we looked at this that we should have probably been ready to answer. But that one I can answer for you. Sometimes my background helps me.
Wow.
Helps you a lot. So what are we doing to address this? Our prevention office, again, I mentioned Amy Liddell, she's our supervisor of prevention services. They're doing a bunch of outreach through Carroll County Public Schools, through the Boys and Girls Club and the community. Implementing research-based prevention programs to reduce the risk of alcohol, tobacco, and drug use, and increase protective factors around that. Ways to say no when asked to engage by your peers. increasing public awareness about how alcohol use can impact your overall health. And we are looking to form a new substance abuse prevention coalition in FY24, which will coordinate and amplify efforts for tobacco, opioid, and also suicide prevention to form a coalition.
And cannabis.
I didn't know. I figured somebody would mention that.
Well, I mean, really, you can't.
How can we not, right?
So the health officers will be addressing, doing a presentation at Summer Mako entitled Where Reefer Meets the Road. And they will be addressing the health impacts, and they'll be addressing the technology that may or may not be available to help us to regulate that. So we've been asked to keep it not about the rules that have already been passed, but about the health impacts and the impacts that we might see based on other communities and other states that have already been through this.
I'll just share with you my thoughts. One, I think that's a horrible title. I think it's just inappropriate. We're making things cutesy, and this is not a cute topic. So where reefer meets the road, may sound fun for people to attend, I think it's inappropriate. So whoever...
I can provide that feedback.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, because this is serious. We don't have... We're way in front of the horses on this. We don't have the abilities to govern, this, and we don't have the abilities to test it. And we don't have the abilities to stop it, because someone who is ingesting this stuff, whether it's in Hartford County, Baltimore City, Frederick, Pennsylvania, wherever they are, it's not about borders. It's about our whole entire community. And these accidents can happen on 26 coming from Baltimore County going westbound. So where reefer meets the road, I think, is a slap in the face to all.
I think it was a playoff of Where the Rubber Meets the Road is the title for the
and I just don't
conference.
like it. It puts us in a difficult position. It puts our sheriff's department and our law enforcement who are fighting this.
I've been looking at the data for years, especially in states that legalized it, especially with the elderly community, because they don't understand how these ingestibles work. And they're also on other medications that affect it. And I think that we need to have a whole outreach group that's going to the senior centers to provide education on it also.
I do,
and
but
we'll
I
be
just
working on that.
We got to recognize it, but we cannot make it this, cutesy type of approach. This is very serious, and it's going to hit us hard, in just a couple months. So I appreciate that you're looking into it. I really don't appreciate that reefer meets the road type
You guys
of
need one more thing added to the
issue,
plate.
so.
I do not need anything else added to my plate at this time.
And I'm glad I wish the state would investigate other states that have the problems they've had, because
There's been a lot
my
of
gosh,
issues in
yes.
states where it's been legalized.
I know.
On multiple fronts.
And,
So
and it's continuing. And it's gonna-
increasing emergency department visits, that's not anything we need with what's going on already, with the fact that we don't have enough medical providers, and we already have a system that's strained. So
Right.
Quick question. Under the new substances you mentioned on that last slide with the tobacco, are you also discussing vaping?
Yes.
I assume, but I wanted to
Absolutely.
ask. So
we're doing a little restructuring internally, so tobacco and, it's just tobacco? Tobacco and vaping type of
Okay.
things are moving over to prevention, and we're going to leave breast and cervical cancer where it is in medical. We're just kind of like looking at where things make more sense at this time. On to environmental.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Hanley. I'm the Director of Environmental Health. I have Lisa Staley here. She's my deputy. We get to give some interesting data to you today. As you can see that the physical environmental factors for Carroll County aren't the greatest, but what I do have to share to you is that there are things in place in Carroll County that we are hoping that will provide some positive impact on this. Air pollution is measured by the particulate matter. Now, the data that you have in front of you, you notice that we're trending in the right direction, but what I do have to say is this data, it's older data. It's based on information from 2019. Local health is not responsible for air pollution programs. Those programs are mandated by the Maryland Department of the Environment, and they're based on EPA standards. But what I do have to say is we have a very, as you know, we've gone back into the air quality business several years ago, and our air quality open burning program has had some very positive effects, not only on safe burning, but on public health. Now, as far as the water quality, drinking water, this data is a little older as well. It's from 2021, and this data is based on your community water supplies. These are also supplies that are not mandated by local health. Local health is responsible for non-community water supplies. We at this point oversee 184 non-community water supplies in our county. We not only monitor these supplies, but we do all the testing for these non-community supplies. As far as these community supplies, what happens is if they have a positive test, which, as you're all familiar, especially with Baltimore City, with the E. coli issue and the bottled water alert, that could certainly happen in Carroll County, or if they've missed a test in a quarter, they haven't reported when they're supposed to report, that is also considered a violation. So it looks like we've found out that apparently Carroll County in 2021 had one drinking water violation under the Safe Drinking Water Act. So that's the data that I have for you. It's like I said, these are programs that we don't mandate locally. We don't have any jurisdiction over these.
We felt that it was very important because we rank last, that we at least explain to you why we rank last, and that we have no control over some of these entities. Do you want me to do the driving impact, or are you going to do it? I can do it. So we were digging into this data because we wanted to know why. And part of it is decisions that have been made over time in the county, which is, we are a bedroom community. We don't have a lot of industry. Many of the people who live here do not work here. So some of what impacts this rating is that 80% of Carroll's workforce drives alone to work. And there's, I believe it's that they drive at least 30 minutes one way. So that's not something that anything we or, you all could change things if you wanted to, or we could bring more industry and that would create more jobs in the community that would affect that, but that's not something that we have control over. And the housing problems in Carroll County, it's 10% of the households have at least one housing problem compared to 16% in Maryland. So we are lower than the state average, and those housing issues or concerns are overcrowding, high housing costs, lack of kitchen facilities, or lack of plumbing facilities. So we're in the right direction there. It's not anything that we have a lot of control over, and we do work very intimately with Citizen Services on housing efforts.
Okay.
You want to do this one, or you want me to? Injury?
Oh, I do. Okay. So we do have some injury data. Our health education program is part of our environmental health program, so I will present this for them today. In Carroll County, from 2016 to 2020, there were 88 deaths per 100,000 people due to injury, such as homicides, suicides, motor vehicle crashes, and poisonings. The same as in Maryland, but higher than the national average of 76 per 100,000. Also, Carroll County is trending up. For all ages, the leading causes of unintentional injury deaths in 2021 were poisoning, motor vehicle collisions, and falls. What are we doing to address this? We have several programs locally that include safe sleep and cribs for kids, car seat safety and education, injury prevention for kids, which includes bike safety and poison prevention, fall prevention for seniors, and gun safety education. And all of these programs are provided through the health department.
Just to add a couple of things here, we are working with Mike Robinson and Mike Stoner with the Carroll Hospital Center, and we're working on a paramedicine program, so that will address some of the EMS calls that go out that result in no transport, but they're just to pick somebody up who's fallen. We're looking to send somebody out to do a full assessment and to link to resources there. We do work with Carroll Hospital Center, Citizen Services, and the partnership and some community providers on social determinants of health. So if we determine that there's something that we can do that would stop the person from having a medical condition that causes them to go to the hospital repeatedly, we're working on those efforts locally. So I think we have a lot of good programming coming in. That's pretty much the end of our presentation. And I'm sure we have nothing after that. So I just would open to any questions. If you look at the data and you have anything else you'd like us to look into for you. The other thing I'd like to promote is that we're getting ready to do the community needs assessment for Carroll County with the hospital and the Partnership for a Healthier Carroll County. That should be out later August, September-ish, and we'll be pushing that out. We're trying to get more surveys completed this year. We're trying to make sure that we get to pockets of populations that we've never seen before. There'll be focus groups. There'll be groups that we work with that are community leaders, that where we're asking information, what you're seeing as the biggest challenges or problems in the community right now. So the more information we get, the better that we can help plan. It influences how the community benefit money from the hospital is put into the community and put into action. So it's a very important project for us.
Okay, I appreciate all the
This
information.
is what we have to do for the Board of Health.
Any questions, comments, topics that you want to address or want to be addressed in the future for the good of the group?
Well, I'll make a few comments. So for people watching or listening, it's important to realize that we have a Carroll County Department of Health, and then we have this thing called the Board of Health. And that's where the commissioners come in. We sit on the Board of Health, and that's the premise for this discussion today. So we fund the Carroll County Department of Health, but we're also stakeholders as part of the Board of Health. Real quick comment, I do appreciate how you set up this briefing. You identified some key data and then talked about how you're addressing it. So I have a particular fondness for that, so thank you. So I guess it might be a hard question to answer, but if I asked you what your the Department of Health's 3 main priorities are for the next 6 to 12 months, priorities, could you tell me what those are? They can be very broad and general, but in terms of the focus as we move forward, COVID is over. We've got so many other issues as a result of that, but we've got other challenges as well. So
we have some chronic disease issues that we need to be addressing, and I want our staff to understand our data so well that we're able, when the state comes to us with small chunks of money to do specific programs, if they do not fit what is needed here, I want us to be able to respond to that and to say that money could be better spent doing X, Y, Z, and here's the data to back it up. We are actively working on the crisis system in Carroll County. I believe that's been something that's been neglected for a lot of years. I've been working on it personally since 2012 when I found out we were one of 3 counties that did not have any funded crisis services. I think by leaps and bounds. We're doing a great job of that, and we're going to continue to promote 988, and the reason for that is because we implemented a program, because we were creative and we looked to use our money in a different way and we asked to use our money in a different way and we were able to bring in mobile crisis services, the community has become very accustomed to their phone number. And instead of using 988, where there would be other services available, because there is an overnight team that could be coming to Carroll now, but because everybody is so familiar with the services are 9 a.m. till midnight, the calls aren't coming in, and we could be making an impact then. And I would have to think a little bit more about my third. But for right now, well, I could tell you my third. My third is to actually have a strategic plan written down that doesn't constantly change. Because right now, coming out of COVID, it's been, and the team will probably back me on this, a lot of trying to catch up and figure out where we dropped things during COVID, because we really didn't have enough staff or enough focus to address those things.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just know, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I think I speak for all 5 of us. I mean, we are here to support those efforts, not only as a part of the Board of Health, but just as commissioners in general. So don't hesitate to reach out to us when you need help, whether it's strategic planning or trying to push something. You've mentioned 988 several times. I just completed my quasi training for the ambassadorship part of that, so I'm going to be talking a lot about that hopefully next week. But that is a valuable resource, in GBRICS as well. People who don't know about that, that's sort of a regional collaboration to address mental health issue, and I have found it extremely effective, actually, the way they operate, and cost effective as well. So, but again, those were all my only questions, and I appreciate you all being here today.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Actually, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I thought it was going to be, where do you believe your 3 resource constraints are? But that's where I thought it was going to go.
Oh, well,
so
I'd like to know those too. I think my question was probably harder than that. I'm sure you could probably tell us pretty quick what those are.
But I do appreciate the work you're doing, and I do understand the challenges of working, I want to say with 2 masters, but it's a challenge, Some people will say, no, you don't work for the state, you work for Carroll County. Other people say, no, you don't work for Carroll County, you work for the state. And we've heard it on both sides from different delegates and senators and all this kind of stuff, and I get it. I think the best thing we can say is just do what you're doing and continue to be collegial and collaborative in your approach and responsive.
We're going to be fiscally responsible, and we're going to be creative, and we're going to meet the needs of the community.
So I think this was very valuable. Any other comments, questions?
Just a quick comment. I do appreciate all the hard work you and your staff are doing, and sort of echo Commissioner Guerin's point. Obviously, anything we can do to collaborate and work together, look forward to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you all have any ideas from what you want to hear in November, I would, love for somebody just to reach out.
Okay.
We will bring things to the Board of Health when we need. I mean, we've done it before to get laws created or if we see an issue. And I just want to tell you that we knew that Linda Auerbach's shoes were going to be hard to fill, but I will tell you that Amy might have more energy than Linda had, and she has lots of ideas, and she's putting together a 3-year plan for prevention services, so we'll be happy to share those things.
And thanks a bunch for coming, and good luck with strategic plan. I think you're going to find out, and you need it, but you're going to find out it's a living, breathing document, and probably the only constant thing will be the change.
I moved from a department where I had a strategic plan to the middle of the largest surge of COVID, and that has been one thing I haven't been able to. What has happened is I do this all the time. It's wait a minute, we got to reprioritize what we're doing. So, if I think that if I could get it on paper, that it would be very helpful.
It's hard, and maybe for November, and maybe not so much for us, but for the public. I don't think a lot of people realize how diverse you are. I mean, you deal with perk tests and wells and health, and it's a good place to get your birth certificate, and et cetera, and I think maybe if you could highlight some of the diverse things you guys do, because it's a bunch.
Absolutely.
But that would go from a 40-minute Board of Health to a 5-hour and 40-minute.
We've already tortured you one day.
Yeah,
You spent a lot of hours with us, so I thank you for your time. And that's what we want to come, and we kind of come and present things to the community that they might not know or might hear of on the surface but not understand.
Fantastic. Any other comments? Okay, what I need now is to adjourn the Board of Health and reconvene, thanks, our open session.
Motion to close the Board of Health and reconvene open session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we did have somebody in the back, but I don't know if she left?
Commissioner, we still
Yes.
have a caller online
Okay.
for public comment, I believe, for
Nope,
this
there's
item.
Joanne. Okay.
Oh, I thought she left.
And,
Okay, caller,
no, hold on a second, Chris.
okay, tell me when. Okay.
You said they left.
I thought they were.
Lied.
I'm sorry.
I didn't think.
But she's back.
So, Joanne, do you have
Left and
a
coming back.
do you have a card?
Put it down, put it down.
Sorry.
Yeah, or did you want to speak?
Yeah, hold on.
I didn't know if they were going to present and then you wanted public comment, or if you want public
That up
comment.
until.
How would you like to do it? Would you like public comment first, or would you like to hear what's being said?
Will there be dialogue?
No.
Then why don't they present and then I'll.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give the same opportunity to the caller. Do you want to make public comment now, or do you want to make public comment after the presentation?
Caller, if you could unmute yourself by using *6 and tell us whether you prefer to listen to the presentation first or make public comment now.
I'd like to make my comment now. I have to go.
Okay.
You'll have 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from and begin your comments. Thank you.
Okay. My name's Kristen Mornelli. I'm an environmental engineer and I live in Marriottsville. I'd like to comment on the public sewer system in the Freedom area. There are many homes in our area on septic systems which are expected to last 20 to 30 years, but many people don't realize they have an issue until they try to sell their home or until there's a more drastic event, such as the sewage backing up into their homes or the tank completely failing. Many homes in the area have septic systems beyond the expected lifespan, so their systems may be failing, but they don't even realize it until they try to sell their home. Aging homes on 2 acres or less, which applies to most of us, could have faced additional burdens when their systems fail. Because of newer regulations since their original systems were installed, they could face estimates of at least $40,000 to replace their septic systems instead of the expected $5,000 to $10,000 for a standard system. People don't have this amount of money available to replace a septic system, and if it fails, it's often an emergency and must be taken care of immediately. Systems are failing not only due to the age of the systems, but also due to the high water table in the Freedom area. I've spoken to several people who have had failed septic systems in the area on lots that require upgraded, unaffordable systems. A man told me his system failed because of a high water table, and he's now in the process of getting these expensive replacement estimates. He's worried about his property values and the potential of having to pay for another system in 30 years. One woman told me their septic system backed up into their basement. They had it repaired. It happened again. They applied for a grant, but they had to move from their home for several months until they could get the grant to replace their septic system. She told me her neighbor's system also failed and they had to install an expensive system. Another neighbor had a failed system years ago, but they don't have money to fix it. So now this woman that I spoke to told me her neighbor's excrement is floating in the water by her house in a culvert. Failing septic systems have the potential to impact the area's groundwater. The woman I previously mentioned buys bottled water for her family to drink. I wouldn't want to drink groundwater from an area with septic system contamination, but I'm afraid that's exactly what we'll be dealing with in the future if public sewer isn't available. I've worked on remediation projects for homes with contaminated groundwater. These people's property values plummeted and they basically had nothing to show for all their years of work. Public sewer capacity needs to be reserved for areas that will need it in the near future. Waiting until there's an emergency doesn't allow people to connect. The county has all the permits showing the ages and types of septic systems currently in use. They should put all this information on a map and determine the communities that are expected to have these expensive septic replacements and prioritize connecting them to public sewer to assist existing residents and to protect our community's groundwater. We've heard that the extension of public sewer to smaller lots would be inefficient, lots smaller than 1 acre, but that's exactly what's planned in the Freedom area. The county has a responsibility to the existing residents to provide the infrastructure necessary to ensure basic health and environmental safeguards. It's short-sighted not to extend public sewer systems to these aging homes with older septic systems. These systems will fail, and the homeowners will face exorbitant, unaffordable bills to replace their septic systems. Some main systems are failing. I'm sorry, I heard a beep. Some may not know their system is having an issue, and some can't afford it and try to avoid the issue altogether, creating a health risk for the community. Groundwater could be contaminated, necessitating homeowners to pay for new wells in addition to their neighbor's septic system. The county is to allocate this limited infrastructure, the public sewer, to existing communities before extending to new developments. Leaving individual homeowners to bear this burden when the county could help its citizens avoid this issue is not good planning for the interests of the community or the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, that was very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Linda.
All right. Good morning. We are here before you today to request to go to public hearing for the 2023 triennial update to the Water and Sewer Master Plan. Price Wagner has a presentation prepared for you to go over. The triennial update is required by COMAR. Under Maryland Department of the Environment. The idea is every 3 years we reset kind of the clock for all of our water and sewer within Carroll County. This contains not only information for the county's systems, which for sewer is the Hampstead area, as well as the Freedom area, Pleasant Valley, Winfield, and a couple other private systems that the county owns and operates, as well as all of the municipalities. Price goes to each municipality and gets a certification letter from each of them saying that this is the information that they have provided, and this is the information that is to the best of their knowledge regarding their sewer system. And again, this is something that is very prescribed by state law that we review every 3 years. What you've seen come before you in the past are amendments. We typically do an amendment twice a year, a spring amendment and a fall amendment. And the purposes of those amendments are because there needs to be changes that the triennial update didn't envision. So for instance, some areas may come out of the system or new areas may come in because of some type of need-based, but that's determined on a case-by-case basis. So with that, I'm going to have Price go over the presentation he has prepared today.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. Again, sort of to brief you on what Linda just said, yes, this is a state-mandated document that is updated every 3 years. And the county updates this document for the county-owned systems, which are Hampstead, the Freedom area, Pleasant Valley, then of course the ones we have for the school areas in the Winfield portion, the Winfield area of the county. And also, in order for a project to be permitted through the Maryland Department of the Environment, it must be listed in the Water and Sewer Master Plan. So that's any type of development, whether it's commercial, residential, other development. If they want to connect or update their system or anything, they need to be shown as part of that Water and Sewer Master Plan, that the plan is for them to connect it one day. So what has changed? A couple of things. The 2019 amendment to the 2014 Carroll County Master Plan was adopted by the previous board in January 2020. And this updated growth area boundaries, as well as municipal growth areas, annexations, master plan updates in Hampstead, Manchester, Mount Airy, Taneytown, and Westminster. Some of those towns did master plan updates between the previous water and sewer master plan and this one. Another big one, and Commissioner Gordon heard this at the Planning Commission, is Westminster's pilot study to develop the basis for water reuse is now complete. So they did have an amendment past fall where they had 500 gallons added in the priority area for water and 500 gallons in the
500,000.
500,000. Thank you.
Big difference.
Big difference. 500,000 gallons. I'm thinking of GPD, gallons per day, and also 500,000 gallons in future. They have now, since they've completed this, they went ahead and realized they want to move that into priority to increase their capacity and show that they have a larger capacity coming down the road within the next 0 to 6 years, which is priority for water. And then all the amendments to the 2017, which was adopted in 2019 Water and Sewer Master Plan, are incorporated in this triennial update. So, as Linda said, I've been in front of all the municipal planning commissions except for Mount Airy. They did not meet this month of May. I will be going in front of them in June. However, I've been in contact with their planning director as well as with their engineers, the town engineers, to make sure everything is up to their standards. All the information they provided is accurate and the map information is accurate. So I'll be going to them in June. Our Carroll County Planning Commission did certify consistency at their May 16th, 2023 meeting last week. So the next number of slides are just sort of looking over the planned water and sewer service areas. This is the overall service areas for the county. As you'll see, we have Tawnytown, Manchester, and Hampstead, Union Bridge, New Windsor, Westminster, Freedom, and Mount Airy, both for water and sewer. Now, sort of breaking them down a little bit further, in the Freedom service areas, this triennial update does update any new projects that came online since the previous one, since the 2017, or have been connected, as well as areas where we did not realize they were connected. Whether it was a project occurred and we did not receive the information that now that area is being served. Same goes with Hampstead. This includes the most recent amendment which occurred, which was the old Solo Cup, which is now the Penguin Random House, for that to come into the water service area, since they are looking to annex into the town as well as join the water service. Same again, Manchester. You'll see a majority of their properties are within the town limits, or within the priority or future. Obviously, and existing. Some areas on the southeast side of Locust Street, that even though it's within the corporate limits, that is where it's called Maverick Solar. That is a solar project that is going to be going in. So that is shown as long range right now. Mount Airy service, again, updates. And this is showing the what we consider the Harrison Lightshare property, which is owned by the county commission. Updating that aspect of showing that is now to be in the future service area for down the road. And even though we do show on the Frederick County side, all this information did come from the town itself to let us make the map as accurate as possible for where the lines are, where any of the wells may be, pump stations, that type of thing, as well as there's a couple of parks that are on the Frederick County side, which the town did let us know they are connected to both water and sewer, so they are shown as existing. New Windsor, again, same thing. Their biggest subdivision, which was Snyder Summit, is pretty much complete now. I believe they have all the permits, according to the town manager, have been pulled, so they consider the project complete. So all of Snyder Summit, which is on Town View Circle, is now included in the existing water service area and the existing sewer service area. And this is, of course, the Tawny Town area, which the last big amendment they did was the spring of 2020, where they brought in Tawny Town Crossing. There was portions of those properties that were in long range and existing. Now the whole thing is in long range, and that property is completely has been built. Meads Crossing is now shown as existing. That is roughly all built out. And the same goes with Meadow Branch, which is just below Meads Crossing. Union Bridge, again, majority of their properties are shown as existing. You'll see the one update we did, which is the very small area of the farm that was subdivided out. It was the intention to subdivide it out. I believe they've gone through the process to have the farmhouse and the tenant house on there to be connected to water and sewer. All the area around that, which is in long range, is part of now the Union Bridge Community Solar that has been put into place. And then the City of Westminster. This, again, showing the areas that could potentially go into the service area, whether it's priority or future. The biggest one being Stonegate is, I believe, 99.9% now all in existing. There's one small area that we still show as priority that's not been completed yet. So when we look at this, the plan, and this the Planning Commission did, again, certify consistency. So how is this plan consistent with the Carroll County Master Plan? One, it definitely promotes communication and coordination between the towns as well as the county, because I have multiple meetings, whether in person, phone calls, via email, back and forth, to make sure the information that I am receiving is put into the document correctly, and all the information is accurate, as well as the maps. When they look over those maps were sent back and forth multiple times to all jurisdictions to make sure that everything was corrected as needed or added as needed. Something we also did is we made sure if they had the ability to update the lines that were in the system to show where they are, as well as the size of the lines, that aspect of things too. We also are looking to protect and enhance the water quality of Carroll County's rivers and streams. This one, again, working with the towns and within the Freedom area and the Hampstead sewer service area, making sure that the people that are the ability to connect to sewer is there if a project is coming down the pipeline, because there's definitely in Manchester and in Hampstead larger projects that are still in the planning stages, that making sure that those are able to connect when they're hopefully ready to build. And then, to the extent feasible, to provide adequate and appropriate community investment plan funds to support the extension of public water and sewer in the areas of Hampstead and then in the Freedom area. Again, this is to the extent feasible. So that's where, if the county has the means to start a CIP, then at least get the ball moving on that. Protect certain mineral resources or current future economic importance, and this is mainly in the Union Bridge in the New Windsor area where the large Lehigh Quarry is. There is the small quarry right outside of Westminster on Avondale. And then facilitate a development pattern that remains consistent with the fabric of the communities. And this is mainly connecting, a lot of this is newer development that's coming into play that is being connected. Existing developments that were done prior to this water and sewer, depending on where they are, may not be connected because it is development driven, typically. And then finally, to pursue policies that facilitate development in the appropriate areas, which are the designated growth areas and the priority funding areas, are the two main ones.
I apologize. Go back.
Sir.
Last slide. 2 policies. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And the other big portion, obviously, there's a lot of chapters that are updated, but the big ones are the Table 15, which is the projected water supply demands, and then Table 32, which is the projected sewer supply demands. This data is provided by the towns or the providers, and when it comes to the demands themselves, it is based on, when it comes to water, wells, amount of water pumped, and then when it's sewer, the amount of flow that goes into the plant itself. It's not broken down to the actual individual property owner themselves. However, this is based on, this also includes any inflow and infiltration, I&I, for sewer, or any leakage that there may be occurring in the water aspect, in the distribution lines for water. So all of these numbers are the capacity, or the present year, are up to date and current as of 2022. Some of the jurisdictions may be from 19 to 21 or 20 to 22, 23. However, they are up to date. And the residential populations served are based on the census and then looking at the areas and breaking it down and how the counties or the towns providers gave us the information when it comes to residential population served. And then the county uses what we call the buildable land inventory to estimate the demands for the priority planning stages and the future planning stages. And those are, or for residential is, number of units, one lot, one house. For when it comes to other demand, which is commercial, industrial, or employment campus, anything that's not residential, it is based on the usable acreage of the property. So we look at environmental features, and that information is provided by GIS from the Land and Resource Management side of the GIS. Same goes with, here's the Table 32, and this includes, again, all of the updates, the previous amendments that were done since the 2017 plan. So again, any next steps, today we are briefing, and we are going to request a public hearing at the end of this. That's the recommended motion. If that motion is made and approved, then we're looking to have a public hearing on June the 15th. We'll have obviously the public hearing notice in the Carroll County Times. We'll do, put it on our website, everything we can do to get the most views as possible, let the community know. The plan is to have the first notice on June the 1st, and then the following Thursday, have it then as well. If the public hearing goes well and we choose so, then we'll come back on the 29th of June and request the Board of County Commissioners to adopt the 2023 triennial update to the Water and Sewer Master Plan. And then finally, we'll forward it to MDE for their final review. The plan does not become effective until we receive the final notification and the final approval from the Maryland Department of Environment. And they are in the process now of just reviewing a draft copy of the plan. So we send a draft copy ahead of time. So hopefully their final review process is not as long as it could be.
So, want to get public comment in a second. Just want to know, is this briefing available currently?
Yes.
On our website?
We can make this actual presentation available. The actual draft copy of the Water and Sewer Master Plan is on the Planning Department's website, as well as the individual maps themselves are on under the Water and Sewer Master Plan 2023 Triennial Update section of the Department of Planning's website.
Okay.
That's a mouthful, I understand.
It is. Just make it readily available and easy access to get to. So, but before we get into discussion, why don't we, Joanne, do you want to speak?
Do I need to use the microphone?
You do.
Okay. I think it's still good morning. So my name is Joanne Grundy, and I'm a resident of the Freedom area. I've lived there for 20 years, over 20 years. About half of you in the room know me very well with this issue, and 4 of you are new, including Mr. Vigliotti. I assume he's still online.
Yes.
So I did bring a copy, 4 copies, and Mr. Vigliotti, I can send one to him. I'd like you all, can I bring them up to you?
Please. Sure.
So, so I'm here to talk about, my concern is with the Freedom area.
Bear with me. Give these, go back to the mic because nobody can hear you afterwards.
I'll take Joe's copy as well.
Actually, I don't have copies of Joe.
Okay.
I gave it to the new health
Okay.
officer to take a look at because it does tie into
That's okay.
public health.
Excuse me, sir, a copy for staff as well. We're not sure what that document
I can
is.
send, all they are is and I hope this is counting down my time, so I can talk to you afterwards.
Okay, bear with me a second.
Sure.
Don't worry about the time right this second. The letter is the letter that was sent from Mr. Passarello.
Okay. But there's
that
a few others in
no,
there.
no, I know that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
okay,
And then we'll go on from there. And yeah, but
Okay,
you'll
great. Thank
you'll
you.
have this.
Thanks.
But the front letter is from Mr. Passarello.
Gotcha.
Yeah, don't worry about time. Okay.
Thank you. That's
Because I want
much
to hear what you have to
appreciated.
say.
So my concern is the Freedom area. It's the sewer service area. For those that understand, we do not have a problem with water in Freedom. Our limited capacity is the sewer. The plant capacity can only offer so much. We have remaining capacity at the Freedom Wastewater Treatment Plant. And a very short-sighted decision was made in 2016 by the Planning and Zoning Commission when Mr. Hager was the director. Mr. Hager and I actually used to work together. I am a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I've worked in planning, office engineering, construction, and now I'm with project management. And I recently took a job on the civil side from military to work on projects like this in other states where there is federal and state assistance to do exactly what I'm asking the county to do, which is the right thing. So just to give you a little background on me, prior to that, I worked in the environmental health field. I did a document in 1999, a watershed action plan for a community in Ohio, which included identifying point and non-point sources, which included septic systems and how those can relate to problems with safe drinking water, wells, groundwater, surface water. So I was very surprised to find out through an unfortunate situation that I went through living in the Freedom community that our house had been mapped for connection since the 60s or 70s and was never connected. We since sold the house, we've moved past that issue, but as I told Mr. Rothstein, Commissioner Rothstein, I felt like it was almost a calling, like I need to do something and I have the perfect background to do it. I worked in the Peace Corps helping to install pit latrines and safe drinking water wells in third world countries. This should not be happening in Carroll County in 2023. So the decision in 2016 by the Planning Commission was they realized they were running out of sewer capacity. There were large undeveloped parcels, and the brainchild idea was let's put the existing development on small lots with septic that were planned for connection since the 70s, 60s, 70s. Let's put those in a new category called long range. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find the same practice in any of the other sewer service areas that Mr. Wagoner just briefed. But we have pockets in the Freedom area. It equates to about 1,200 houses that have been reallocated. They're now in long range. I was told that means not in your lifetime, because there's currently no plans to increase the plant capacity, and there is eventually going to be a limit with the MPDES permit for discharges to the Patapsco River. So that was a very short-sighted decision, and Mr. Hoff, Dan Hoff, was on the commission at the time, and his thought was, yeah, why do people want to pay to connect to sewer when they can fix their leach field for $5,000? Well, I'll tell you from my experience, my system wasn't even failing. It was just so old it wouldn't pass an inspection, unbeknownst to me. And I have the background that I should, be up to date. So just to connect to sewer, we couldn't even perk until we found out what it would cost to connect, because we were in the service area before they made the switch. $65,000. I can tell you from working in construction on millions of dollars of projects. It's probably about $80,000 today. It was the wettest year on record, elevated groundwater levels. Good luck getting a perk test, people said. Even the county, some people told me on the phone, you're better off waiting. So we sold it as is. They eventually did replace the system. We had a well. We had to get a variance because the wells were too close to the septic system. But they did eventually replace the system. A system on our lot, $40,000 with grant funding. The grant funding only covers the bat tank, which you have to have if you're closer to wells. We can do better. I spoke last week at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I think both Kristen and myself raised some concerns. But Ms. Eisenberg and Mr. Wagoner said, hey, we worked really hard. We can do an amendment after we get this plan approved, because we've been asking for an amendment to this plan since 2020, at least. And I see lots of amendments for development. You know, they'll add sewer service area, but they won't connect. They won't put it in the plan. They won't put it in the budget. Mr. Rothstein's house was connected before he bought it. It used to be on septic and well. He is now on public water and sewer. Our house, I was told by Ms. Eisenberg, it should have been connected. I don't know why it wasn't. We have a brand new development behind us. We've got 4 or 5 homes from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. There was a survey. I pressed hard enough. A survey came out. I found out about it after they were mailed. Over 60% of respondents wanted to connect. They were interested in connecting. They knew the costs. Over 30% said they have problems with their system. That's hard to admit. You don't want the health department knocking on your door. This needs to be a planned approach for the benefit of the community. We are treated less because we are relying on the 5 commissioners. We don't have a town council. I'm trying to think of what other appointments I want to make. Mr. Commissioner Rothstein, at the end of the sewer survey, when it was discussed with the previous board, his response was, it's complicated. I work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We engineer solutions to the nation's toughest problems. I'm on projects that are much more complicated than this. This is common sense. This is doing the right thing. So I will not take up any more of your time, but I appreciate you not holding me to the buzzer.
No, absolutely. And, I appreciate everything you share. So, from the first time you came into the office, from the phone calls many years ago to today, and I will continue. And I will continue to be as responsive to you, Kristen, and the entire community. So I appreciate that. Okay. A lot was shared, and we're going to take that on. This step is to get it to public hearing.
Correct.
And then we move on from there. But are there any?
I will not be here for public hearing. That's why I'm here today.
What's that?
I am not available then. That's
Oh, no, I got you. But I appreciate it. But also, it's a good point. You don't physically have to be here. Emails, got the email from Mr. Passarello, from text, anything we will take, and we'll always make sure it's available in public hearings, and that's for the entire community. Whether it's the day of or prior, regardless. Okay, any questions, comments for Linda and Pierce? Pierce, it was a very good briefing that you provided. So
I have a couple questions. Can you go back to the Mount Airy map, please?
Yes.
Price, I'm sorry, I said Pierce. I was like, I know you
Changed
guys.
his name
No,
already.
y'all looked at each other. I was like, wait, what's going on here? I apologize.
All right, let me get. All right. Looking for the Mount Airy water, sewer, or
I
both?
think they were on the same slide, so that's
There
fine.
were 2 separate ones, actually.
Yeah, they were
That's
2
what they
separate
were.
ones.
Okay, either one.
Okay.
Harrison Lesher property. Was this on the previous water and sewer master plan? It was? Okay.
Nothing has changed for that aspect.
That's important to mention. My understanding is that there are 0 conversations between the county and a developer for that property, and 0 conversations between the town and the county to develop that property. I want to
That's correct.
Confirm that. So, if you're watching, we've got a lot of issues in Mount Airy already with development. There's a proposal to build a second Mount Airy, what is called the Beck development. So it's a hot issue. So to bring up Harrison Lesher, I wanted to make it clear to anybody who was watching or listening what the status of that particular property is. I had another question or comment, and I think both speakers have alluded to the same issue, but I do have a concern. So how would you, okay, so you're devising this sewer and water master plan. How would you characterize the priority of this plan, to serve undeveloped areas or to serve pre-existing homes and neighborhoods? Because to me, that's a really important issue, and I think it's probably a bigger issue in the Freedom area than a lot of other areas, because, yeah, it is a little complicated in terms of people's reaction. In District 4, people are perfectly happy to be on wells and septic. Nobody wants to pay a water bill, and nobody wants to pay a sewer bill. But Freedom's different. And I used to live in the Freedom District, so I know that. And we happened to be on well and septic when we were there. But I'm just trying to make sure I understand in a very general way prioritization, because if we do have areas such as Freedom where we have environmental concerns and aging concerns, shouldn't that be the priority of hooking up those people's services before we go to undeveloped areas?
So nothing changed in this from the last plan. So there are no priorities, so to speak. We just reset the balance sheet of the water availability and the sewer availability, but we did not change anything as part of this triennial update for the Freedom area. So this has been the standing map since the 2016 master plan was implemented.
Okay. Okay, so, and then again, the people will have an opportunity to speak, but and I don't want to speak out of turn, but it sounds like that's a pretty big topic down in this particular area, and it could be in other areas of the county as well. I didn't realize.
And that would be to each individual system to make those decisions on how they would like to bring in properties that may need to be brought in because of some type of septic failure. As you heard from the health department, they did not raise any issues. I think they would have brought them to you if they knew of some systematic failures within the Freedom area. And so maybe for your November meeting with them, that might not be a bad topic if they want to evaluate that again on their own. We look to them to give us information about failing septic or well contamination. We have not heard anything from them about any particular property that needs to come in or any particular area that needs to come in the Freedom area. I would say staff is going to be looking at what it would take to extend sewer for those areas and water. The cost to the county would be all the infrastructure that would need to go in, any pump stations that are necessary, the sewer lines themselves to extend to any home that may be deemed as something that you all would want to come in to bring those older homes in to the sewer service area. Then the cost to the property owner would be the area connection fee and the construction of the line from the house to the main line. Yes, there are grant opportunities, but it's not going to cover 100% for 100% of the residents either. So it's a very, very costly endeavor to do that, and something that we'll be looking at and putting in a CIP, and ultimately that would be a capital project that would have to be approved as part of your budget to put that in.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, you make a good point. The other areas are municipalities. It's a different, it is sort of a certain degree apples and oranges. But obviously it sounds like not much, it's always been these kind of issues in the Freedom area as far back I can remember, so people have an opportunity to weigh in on this plan. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, because it's it's not, when we look at a lot of times these things, it's like this all or nothing type of approach. We throw in the Freedom Disney growth area with the municipalities, and personally, I still, and this, I get frustrated when I hear the Freedom Disney growth area, and we're putting boundaries around an area that may be necessary, but should not be restrictive. And I feel like sometimes when we look at the Freedom Designated Growth Area, we look at a restrictive approach, whether it be agricultural, or other things. So I still think we should look at the Freedom Designated Growth Area and ensure that it's defined appropriately to get the services necessary for that community. I just don't think we're there. And the Freedom Plan doesn't get us there. It's subjective, and we've talked about this. Go back to those goals, and that's why I was asking. Yeah, you had goal 14 and 15.
Sorry. Yeah, I got
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm on.
No, I know you had it.
No, I had.
After all the escape, and then you can look
I
at
had it
everything.
before that.
It's after the maps, isn't it?
It's after.
It's at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, that's okay.
All paying attention.
So,
Yeah, which slide I put it on?
facilitate a development pattern that remains consistent with the fabric of our communities. When we have goals and objectives, we have to have the resources to do the things that we're putting on paper. Pursue policies that facilitate development in appropriate areas, including the designated growth areas. I want to make sure that we have the appropriate resources to do just what we're saying we're going to do. If we do, great. If we don't, what resources are necessary to get us to meet those goals? I understand amendments, sometimes are necessary, but amendments should be the exception to the rules. They should be, the base document should be meeting these goals. And I don't believe, how is this plan consistent with the Carroll? I do not believe that there is this consistency. And I'm not, I'm definitely not trashing the two of you or the planning community or the planning committee or anybody. It's just, we got to start looking at this with a fine-tooth comb. And I think this is the time to do it.
So just to define consistency, I'm going to disagree with you. This is consistent with the Freedom Plan and the Carroll County Master Plan, because if you look at both of those plans, especially the Freedom Plan, that's the map that's in the Freedom Plan that was adopted, and those were the goals that were adopted as part of the Master Plan and then also into the Freedom Plan. So that's kind of what we're talking about, consistency. Now, whether there's development patterns or something happen that aren't consistent, I can't speak to that. I would say we're not. We're pretty good about making sure, and the Planning Commission, as part of their process, looks at consistency. So if there's a change of ideology, that's different than consistency.
Okay, so it is consistent with the Freedom Plan. I'm not a big fan of the Freedom Plan.
And that's the ideology.
Okay. So that's where we're going. The Freedom Plan provides too much subjectivity, and we've talked about this, in what right and wrong looks like, and we need to be more objective so people have expectations. And it goes right back to that storage facility. Commercially zoned, yes, it's available. Is it in line with the Freedom Plan? Absolutely not, because it's not consistent with these goals. So therefore, there's a dilemma when people in the community, they're going to look at, a master plan or a Freedom Plan, as opposed to the zoning, regulatory guidelines that we have or ordinances that we have. I want to get there. It's not an overnight process, but I want to get there. And I think we deserve, the community deserves to get there. Because it's not the first time we've heard this. I just want to focus on, I apologize. So, no, go ahead.
I mean, I think that was an interesting comment. I think it was an accurate one. You're talking about the ideology of the plan itself and where we want to go. And I do think that's where we come in as commissioners, and the
Absolutely.
planning department doesn't have that authority. And in terms of development and, facilitating development patterns, what I see throughout South Carroll is that there is no stomach for development. I mean, that's the ideology I hear. So if this master plan needs to reflect that, then that's something that people need to speak up about during the public hearing, and when it comes back to us, I'll certainly be paying attention to that.
Yeah,
And so today, though, but this is only for the water and sewer portion of the triennial update. So I don't want us to get off tangent that this is a master planning process. We are really accounting for what's on the ground for water and sewer, where the lines are, bringing things up to date in areas that have been prioritized for water and sewer at this point in time.
A house is built on a strong foundation, and water and sewer is a strong foundation as lines of communication like the roads. So it's not so much a tangent, it's something that we gotta address. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it one-on-one. We've talked about it in the Planning Commission. We got to get there. This is a good start, and we're going to, go through the process. And I'm really looking forward to the community coming out strong and saying these are how to address the issues and continue to make them better. And then from that, like I said, that's the foundation. At least that's, in my view, that's a foundation to then go, okay, is the road structure in the right place? And we talk about these things. So it's not so much tangential, it's kind of stacks on itself. Take a hard look at how it conforms. Not consistent, I guess, that you're right, but how it conforms to the goals in goals 14 and 15. Because you're right, it's consistent, but is it what the community wants? And if it is, great. If it's not, why not? And how do we build it, in a fundamental way? That's what is driving me right now. So, but with all that said, you could go slide off, please. So I can see Mr. Vigliotti. I apologize. Commissioner Vigliotti, did you have anything you want to share? Okay, thanks.
If I can just say
yeah,
quickly,
please.
I agree with you. You've done some good answers. We're totally off the subject. But it creates an opportunity for all this to be discussed. And I would just like to add, I truly don't understand moving into a growth area and not wanting growth. And I wonder if all those people are willing to pay 50% more in taxes since they don't want growth. It's a tough situation, and I understand some of the comments I'm hearing years ago, and I've 50% of my life I've had septic and well.
Yeah.
But if you can get on public water and sewer, that's a smart decision to make. And replacement costs have got way worse than, I fixed my first one, and I think the health department came out, nodded their head, we dug a trench and did it. Well, that's not today. So this is a toughie, but thank you for your time, because we totally are off the subject, but you've given us the opportunity.
No, we're not. Okay. Good conversations. What I need is any further discussion. If not, a motion to proceed with public hearing. Anybody?
I move the Board of County Commissioners proceed with the public hearing for the 2023 triennial update to the Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. And just as a reminder, the public hearing is scheduled for June 15th, correct? Okay. Any other discussion?
We miss Commissioner Vigliotti making all the motions. You
I know.
got to get well.
Well, that's okay, because I get to look on one side, not both sides. Any other?
Is that
please?
public hearing going to be during
Yes.
our open?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's going to be during
Will be.
open session
Yes.
during the day. We're not going to have a special. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Comments can be made prior to and,
Up until the hearing, and then
okay. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ms. Grundy, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Let's talk management and budget. Just something simple to talk about.
Yep.
The FY24 budget adoption.
Can be simple.
Wait a second, Deb. I mean, you're like dual-hatted? Are you getting paid double because of this?
You should.
I'm just asking.
She answered that pretty quick.
This
You
is,
should.
She should, huh?
as part of management and budget, this is Deb's last and 19th budget.
Thank you.
But not as part of Carroll County government. No, there's many more ahead of her.
Okay, so we refer to this as budget adoption, but there's actually a number of actions that you need to take. We have these in the order that they're supposed to be.
Yep.
Okay, so first would be to adopt the budget. And for those who have paid attention to the rest of the process, the budget is actually a number of different budgets. And also included in this is you adopting the public schools budget and the community colleges budget.
So on the fourth page, the total general fund appropriations of $542,839,870. That's the
Right?
That's the bottom line for the operational.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we decided to actually several years ago that we should adopt the water, sewer, and solid waste rates first, and then the budget, since they're integral to the budget. So
Because it's embedded in this.
right, because
So-
if you don't adopt these, then the budget's not going to work. So
Okay, so let's
So skip to the-
this and go to the water sewer usage rates as instructed by our chief administrator.
with a little help.
And the sewer, water sewer rates, let's see. Are there any questions on this, the water sewer? If not, I need a motion to adopt the water sewer usage rates for 2024.
Motion to adopt the water and sewer usage rates for 2024.
Second.
Okay. I apologize, Commissioner Vigliotti, do you have this in front of you? Do you have, like, from your computer?
No, I don't.
When it was sent, you
I have
go
I have
ahead.
the agenda packet, but I don't have this particular thing in it.
Well, the agenda packet should have in the back all of this as part of your,
It was sent on Friday,
I don't think it did.
didn't it?
I'll double check. I have my email up.
Yeah.
She may have gotten it more
I'm sure it
recently.
did not.
She may have gotten it more recently.
and the reason is, I just want to make sure you don't have any questions regarding this, knowing that you read all of this thoroughly, but just in case.
Yeah, this particular thing you're talking about is not in my.
No.
It's not in my packet.
Okay.
I mean, there's been no numbers that have been changed from the other week from when we were in set. Nothing is
No,
different.
no,
Okay.
I don't think so.
not on this.
The decisions the board has already made, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So with that said, I do have a motion. I have a second. Regarding the water and sewer usage rates for 2024. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Where you want to take us to now, Ted?
Solid waste rates.
My voice changed.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Solid waste, we did make adjustments through the process. They are reflected here in front of us. And they have not been changed since the last work session, which was held last week. I need a motion to accept the solid waste rates for 2024.
Motion to accept the solid waste rates for 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And the tax rates, right? So that's just in front of the solid waste rates.
Yep. So I have the tax rates that include our ordinary tax rate at $1.018 per $100. And just that's it? Just property?
It's property, personal property.
I just see property.
Second line is personal property. It's 215, 251.
I apologize. Where?
If you look at where it says number one, you
Yeah.
see 1.018 per hundred for real property.
And
Then you go to the next line, 2.515 per hundred for personal property. And then 2 lines down, 0.0143 for the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fund. And, this gets complicated, but that is not a separate tax. That is a portion of your real property.
that .0143 is a portion of our real property.
Yes.
Okay. So I need a motion to accept the tax property rates as written below.
Motion to accept the tax property rates for 2024 as stated below.
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to clarify, we have not raised taxes this year. I appreciate everyone's opinion, whether I agree with them or not, but when your assessment goes up, it implies that your property is now worth more. No different than when your income goes up, you're going to pay more income taxes, not because the rate change, but because you made a little bit more money. And I don't know how else government would account for inflation and changes if we froze everything, and it's not a tax increase. And like I say, I understand the passion of some people who are mentioning it, but it is not a tax increase.
Correct. And so we're not approving the continuation of the income tax and recordation tax as no change?
There's no need,
No need
to
to?
do, state law sets this up this way, but not the others.
I see. But your point's well taken, and maybe that should be addressed, that we are not, and very clearly
Well,
to
I've got a
articulate.
comment on recordation taxes too. I was going to wait till the budget, but I might as well do it now. Again, I appreciate everyone's opinion on that. I don't think their opinions are logical. When $375 on a $300,000 house changes your decision to buy or not, I'm hard pressed to understand that lack of logic. And I love the real estate community. I'm in the process of selling stuff, and I used a broker every time. But to regurgitate the exact same words in an email and keep sending it only weakens your message. And I would challenge the real estate group, if anybody has an original thought and would like to discuss this, I'd love to discuss it. If you want to keep regurgitating what somebody else wrote, I'm probably not going to read everyone. Thank you.
Okay. So the next is our operational budget. And
You have to vote.
Voted on the tax
We have to
rates.
vote.
I apologize. On the property tax. Oh, we didn't vote. I apologize.
No, we didn't actually take a vote. To affirm the current rate, I think is the wording we're all looking for.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay.
That worked.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we will be, now that all of that's out of the way, Ms. Wyndham, are we allowed to go forward?
Yes.
Okay.
My
Since
blessing.
we're now allowed and authorized to go forward by the one lawyer that's actually talking to us, the other one just turns red, but that's, my recommendation is we move forward with this. We open for discussion. If anybody has any comments they would like to make prior to taking a vote, that's fine. And feel free, and we'll just go on from there. So what I need is a motion to accept the general fund revenues, and you can look at the general fund, section 1.
Well, why don't,
Isn't that?
I think it would be a motion to adopt the FY24 budget as presented.
Okay. We could do that.
Motion to accept the FY24 budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Now, are there any discussions? Any comments anybody wants to make?
Is that a vote for both general and capital at the same time? Okay, just making sure.
And others.
And
So
others.
the enterprise funds, the grant fund, and the whole list.
Trips to Aruba? No, I'm kidding. There are no trips to Aruba. So,
I keep trying. Nobody's letting.
any comments, any discussion folks want to make?
I do have, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner Callagher, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to thank the staff, and you're dealing with 4 new people and 1 returning. I don't know, I won't ask
Yeah.
which one you're most happy
Exactly.
dealing with. But thank you very much for the process we've gone through. I want to thank the fellow commissioners. I think we've had some great discussions. No offense, but do we have a perfect budget? Probably not. But we have the best thing we could come up with, and I appreciate everybody's talk with it. And I'm sure a couple people keep asking, are you happy to be done with the budget? I don't think we're ever done with the budget. It's just a matter of this one's approved, and will it be modified within the next year? Who knows? I doubt if it's going to turn out perfect and every dollar spent exactly that same way, but we'll be working on the next one. But I think it's been a good process, and I think I know I learned some throughout it. Some of the things I thought would be easy to have everybody agree were not, and some of the things I thought would be controversial seemed easy, and it's interesting. So thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Commissioner Gordon?
I would have to echo with Commissioner Kyler's comments in general, but would also like to thank all 4 of my fellow commissioners for all of our involvement. I think it was a good process overall. I also have to thank the staff for all their dedication and work, as well as the public for reaching out and giving us their input. Whether we completely saw eye to eye with any of that, it was more than appreciated, and I respect all of the ideas and concepts. Also just wanted to bring up, and I know Commissioner Vigliotti's at home watching today, but I do appreciate his, I guess I'll say, leadership in the idea of us starting the budget immediately after this budget. I know he had mentioned that a couple times during the work sessions, and I greatly appreciate that, and I look forward to us doing that and doing things a little differently. Not that there's ever been anything wrong with how we've done it, but I think we do need to adjust some things. And not going to go into detail today, but I do have a couple areas I think we can utilize in the coming months for next year's budget that I think will actually potentially create some revenue without taxes and fees, and I'll discuss that more with my fellow colleagues in the future.
Okay, any other comments want to be made? No, there was never, I believe, a 5-0 vote, or very few in the process. We went down the road with a lot of discussion regarding recordation taxes, believing it was being navigated in a direction that would allow us to do the things we need to do. I am concerned that using one-time funds to solving a tactical problem for 1 year is not a good practice, and getting assurance from most that that's not to be done again is a good sense. We'll see where our actions lie. I'd be interested to know what processes should change, because we do it very well and we have very dedicated, selfless staff that gets us to where we need to make appropriate decisions. So the sooner we know processes and ideas, the better off I think we're going to be. The collaboration, collegiality is wonderful for best interest of Carroll County. I want to say personally, professionally, I think the one thing was we got to the 4.55%. I really wanted to get to 5.55. That was one action. There was others, but we'll get there.
Almost brought that up today, but I wasn't sure if it'd be appropriate to make a
Well.
motion to change the budget.
No. Well, you can bring up what you want. I mean, you're allowed.
But you mentioned it, so you opened the door.
Well, I'm not. But with that said, if there's any other comments, I have a motion, I have a second to adopt the budget as presented. All in favor? Aye. Okay, 5-0.
For budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And welcome, Deb. Okay. Fire EMS. Just like that.
I thought nobody was going to show.
You were only hoping.
We've got
There's Maureen. Chief Robinson didn't get this far by just hanging out in rooms when they're talking about budgets. He knew when to come in.
we got 5 purchases. Let's see if we can make them
Yes.
happen.
Okay.
Smart man.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS, requests your approval to purchase 2 simulation mannequins. One would be the Aries pediatric 7-year-old and the Luna neonatal infant from CAE Healthcare in the amount of $71,392. CAE Healthcare is a sole source manufacturer of the tetherless CAE Aries AR emergency care mannequin and the tetherless Luna infant simulator. This amount is within the FY23 budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
Okay.
And I'll defer to our subject matter expert, our EMS officer, Michael Stoner.
Okay, so when we were looking at these mannequins, we actually reached out to Carroll Community College as well, and they have the same mannequins over there.
Mhm.
So we can actually share some
That's
of the
great.
education back and forth between. Also speaking with Dr. Kemp, Medical Director, these mannequins are going to be something that we can use for years down the road. The purchase price for these are the base models, which will allow us to upgrade in the years to come as money becomes available. But it will allow us to do the high-risk, low-frequency skills to better serve the citizens of Carroll.
Are you aware if these mannequins are also over in Howard Community College?
I'm not aware of Howard Community. I know a lot of places within the Hopkins campus use the same mannequins
They
as
are,
well.
okay.
I'm I'm not sure
Good.
about Howard, though.
I just remember when we, I helped get their science engineering building together, and I remember the mannequins, and they were very state of the art. So
Yeah, these mannequins, actually, you can record
Yeah.
voice on those. You can do,
Yep.
from outside the room, talk through the mannequin.
Yep.
Other additions that are added to it are a virtual reality
Yeah.
portion that will allow you to do, in-depth anatomy and physiology lectures and trainings with new and prospective students and employees.
okay, sounds good. Is there a motion?
I move the Board of Commissioners award the purchase of 2 simulation mannequins from CAE Healthcare in the amount of $71,392.
Second.
I got a motion, got a second. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's talk about T480 Kenworth with a vacuum tank, hydraulic pump drive.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's got a microwave built on the back or something. I don't know.
Exactly. Full barbecue kitchen.
No kidding.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Fleet Management, requests your approval to award the purchase of one T480 Kenworth with Amthor 3,900-gallon vacuum tank hydraulic pump drive from All Roads Trucking LLC in the amount of $249,481. Kenworth Truck Company was awarded a competitively bid contract number 060920-KTC through Sourcewell, a cooperative purchasing consortium, whom All Road Trucks LLC is an authorized dealer. The amount is within the adopted budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
Commissioner, so this purchase would allow for the replacement of a 2011 International hook lift truck. And I would like to show a couple pictures of that unit very quickly. So as you can see, the vehicle has an excessive amount of rust and corrosion. And again, that's typical of the DPW vehicles because of their work environment. This unit also has over 200,000 miles on it, so it's certainly at the end of its useful life. Unfortunately, there are still lengthy delays with receiving new vehicles. With the board's approval today, we won't expect that new unit for about 9 months.
Okay. You said this is a 2011?
It is.
Again, it's a testament to our workforce in proper PMCS and proper care of vehicles to last this long. So, great job. Okay.
Do you know where it hauls to and from? Or does it vary?
Oh, it'll vary. The older vehicles we try to keep on site. Don't put them on the road as much. The newer vehicles will go, on the road for different projects.
Okay. If you can go slide off for me. Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Commissioners award the purchase of one T480 Kenworth with Amthor 3,900-gallon alum vacuum tank hydraulic pump drive with All Roads Truck in the amount of $249,481.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mike?
That's okay. I'll follow up with. This
With
is the
that,
second.
or-
It's the second. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. It was the first. That was the first one. The alum vacuum tank. Now we're going on to the T880 roll-off. Correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Fleet Management, requests your approval to award the purchase of one T880 roll-off truck from All Roads Trucks LLC in the amount of $302,935. Kenworth Truck Company was awarded a competitively bid contract number 060920-KTC through Sourcewell, the cooperative purchasing consortium, who All Road Trucks LLC is an authorized dealer. This amount is within the adopted budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
Commissioners, I'll bring up a picture one more time very quickly. So this unit that we're looking to replace is actually a 2008 model. A lot of the information is the same. You can see the rust and corrosion. The roll-off truck that we're requesting will be able to accommodate various body platforms. And in November of '22, the board actually approved the purchase of a mobile vacuum tank, so that will be paired with this truck. And again, the delay is about 9 months until we receive the actual new unit.
Okay. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Commissioners award the purchase of one T-88 roll-off truck from All Roads Trucks in the amount of $302,935.
Second.
I have a motion, second, any discussion?
I have a quick question. So the first picture you showed us, that was a roll-off vehicle.
Correct.
You voted on a vehicle that looked like it had the tank with it.
Sure, so...
So that's why I'm a little confused, having been down in the landfill.
Do we do it? You want to do it?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, and I should have been clearer on the first one. The first one that was approved with the aluminum tank, which is the alum short for aluminum, that is a hard-mounted tank. Its sole purpose in life is hauling leachate. It will be on site from time to time, but it will go, to either to Baltimore County or to the city of Westminster. We've swapped it out just to try to maximize the fleet a little better. Again, roll-off at a separate tank versus the hard mount. This vehicle is a separate roll-off by itself. So this one can do the tank, it can do roll-off boxes, it can do projects around the county as well.
I think one of the first votes we had was for another leachate transport as well that had already been aging. Is that back in
It was for the
December,
tank
or-
itself. That's
for
what
the
what
tank
Reed had
itself?
mentioned. It was
Okay.
just the tank itself, yeah.
And you still have to drive to the valve or hookup within Westminster.
Correct. There or the facility in Baltimore County, correct.
So if you were to extend that hookup to the landfill, we would never have to do these truck trips, right?
I wouldn't say never. We always have to have a backup.
Yeah.
We also use some of these vehicles to service the wastewater plants in the Bureau of Utilities. We help them out from time to time. So we would have to have some of the fleet retained, or the leachate hauling capacity for that. But yeah, we could certainly look at changing the fleet down the road if we were to have that connection.
That's what I hear. Okay, thank you.
Would significantly reduce the number of truck trips,
Certainly would.
especially when it rains.
Yes. Thank you.
3,000 trips plus a year is a lot.
Maybe we can talk about that later. Some other time.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Let's talk about upfitting 4 fire EMS vehicles.
All right. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with Fleet Management, requests your approval to use term contractor Fesco Emergency Sales to complete the upfitting of 4 fire EMS department vehicles. The amount of $142,382.20 includes all parts, labor, installation, and delivery. This purchase is being made through a Howard County contract number 4400004563 that was competitively bid. This amount is within the approved budget and no additional funds should be necessary.
So the Board of Commissioners approved the purchase of 4 Chevy Tahoe vehicles in October of '22. We finally have build dates established for those vehicles being this coming August. So now we are seeking the board's approval to allow Fesco to outfit the vehicles for the Department of Fire and EMS. And again, I brought a couple pictures I'd like to just show the board as reference. This is the Lineborough EMS chase vehicle. So as you can see, the upfitting consists of lights, sirens, graphics, safety equipment, center consoles, everything that's needed to convert this vehicle for use by fire and EMS personnel.
Is this, and I know things constantly change, is this now more or different than what the old ones were, or is all the stuff going in it, is some of it new, or are they pretty standard still?
There's been significant updates in the equipment, yes, correct. So all the lighting's LED now. Antennas can provide Wi-Fi and allow radios to be in the front of the vehicle as well as the rear of the vehicle. But yeah, there's been significant updates, and these vehicles, all the equipment will be new, as these are the first EMS chase vehicles for the county. Like the sheriff's department's vehicles, we'll try and recycle as much equipment as we can, as long as it's okay to do so, and the sheriff is okay with it.
Upfitting this now, or purchasing the upfitting now, as opposed to when we ordered the vehicles? Why didn't we?
We weren't able to do so because we couldn't lock pricing in, and none of the vendors really wanted to purchase everything and keep it on a shelf.
Okay.
And with the uncertainties of the vehicles, we
Okay.
really didn't know
Yep.
when they were going to come in, so.
Oh, it's fair. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the use of term contractor Fesco Emergency Sales to complete the upfitting of 4 fire EMS department vehicles in the amount of $142,382.20.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Absolutely. Good work. Let's talk about pipe reline, Valley Vista Court and Center Street.
Good morning again.
We have a couple printouts for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And this was emailed to you, Commissioner Bigliotti, by Doug, I think, earlier today.
Thank you very much. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Roads Operation, requests your approval to award Pleasance Construction Incorporated, an existing term contractor, to perform a pipe reline on 4221 and 4229 Valley Vista Court in Manchester and Center Street from the near the Farm Museum in Westminster in the amount of $27,143.82. Carroll County will be piggybacking Hartford County's contract number 22-148. This amount is within the fiscal year 23 budget, and no additional funds should be necessary.
Sound like a tongue twister.
It really was.
Okay.
Good morning, afternoon, I guess, at this point. These pipes are part of the county's storm drain system and are needed in repair. We've been before you before. These pipes are smaller pipes, so these pipes will be using Pleasance, which is a fiberglass lining that they will insert into the pipe and then use a infrared machine to harden the pipes. They're smaller systems, they're under 30 inches. 2 of them are located off of Lineborough Road over in the Valley Vista development, and the other one is located here in Center Street between Middlebrook Apartments and the Farm Museum entrance. All 3 are causing dips in the roadway because the pipes are failing, so everything's just eroding underneath and through them.
Okay. Any questions? I'll move the Board of Commissioners approve the pipeline work to Pleasant Construction Incorporated in the amount of $27,143.82.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, what I need is for us to take a look at closed minutes from May 18th regarding land acquisition. Oh, yeah. Any questions on this? If not, I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the closed minutes from the meeting of 5/18/22, or 23.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. One, you come on up. And before we go into land acquisition, for open admin, I got one thing I want to bring up. We have done it in the past. I believe it's an effective and mostly an efficient way to use our workforce. And I'd like to start an effective, I'd like to say immediately, but that's on to our administrator, a 2-hour release on Fridays. Early dismissal, whatever you want to call it. We're not in school anymore, but, shorten the Fridays 2 hours and allow the directors to appropriately provide those 2 hours as necessary to those that are on shift work and others, that cannot handle, the 911, the shift workers, the DPW, all those that have, other than normal 8-hour days or 9-hour days, they will work that through their staff and ensure that our administrators are aware. But I would like to make that effective immediately. Is there any comments or?
From Memorial Day to Labor Day?
I apologize, Memorial Day to Labor Day, yes.
Thank you. That was going to be my question. Okay.
Yeah,
I would
no,
think it would be next Friday. I wouldn't want to start it tomorrow.
It would be difficult,
Yeah,
but.
that would be
Yeah. But,
And again, Monday is a federal holiday.
Different periods.
There have been, yeah.
But Memorial Day to Labor Day, and Monday is a federal holiday, so, okay. Okay, is there any questions on that? Any concerns?
Not a question, but I guess a comment. I agree with you on that. I think it's a wise decision we should take up to support those that help us, and as well as the rest of the county. So I completely agree with you.
Okay, so that's my motion to make. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Well, the staff will be very, very appreciative. Thank you.
Okay, let's go into agenda review. As shared, Monday 29th, May 29th, the county offices will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. I believe it's also a federal holiday. At 9 a.m., the 156th Memorial Day Parade and Ceremonies. Commissioner Gordon will be participating. Commissioner Kyler will be participating up in Hampstead. The Memorial Day ceremony. And I don't think that's happening in Sykesville. I think I will be at the American Legion in Post 223.
In Mount Airy's memorial celebration is at Pine Grove Chapel at 11 o'clock on that Monday.
Okay.
If anybody watching or listening is interested, I'll be there.
On Wednesday, May 31st, there is at 10 a.m. Board of Elections recognition. Commissioner Gordon, Kyler, Vigliotti, and I will be attending. There will be a Board of Education, Carroll County Public Schools Facilities Master Plan work session that I will be attending at 4 p.m. There will be a Planning and Zoning Commission that will be virtual. Commissioner Gordon will be participating in. And at 7 p.m., Commissioner Kyler will be attending the Gateway graduation over at the Community College's Scott Center. Thursday, June 1st, we go into open session at 09. We will be talking about program open space allocation within the municipalities. Mr. Daggetts will be leading us in that discussion. We will be talking about an option to purchase the Levi, Fisher, Mattie Fisher, and Jacob Fisher property through Critical Farms program. And then we go into close for land acquisition. We'll be surprised if that's all that's going to be on there, but that's okay if it is. At 7 p.m., Fire EMS Lieutenant Commissioning Ceremony, where all 5 of us will be attending. And that's going to be at the Community College Theater. On Saturday, June 3rd, is opening day for the Hampstead Farmers Market, and Commissioner Kyler will be buying vegetables for everybody. On Sunday, Commissioner Vigliotti, bless you, has the podcast on June 4th. June 5th, the first high school graduation. It'll be Westminster High School graduation. Commissioner Gordon will be attending at McDaniel at 9 a.m. And then at 3 p.m., South Carroll High School graduation, also at McDaniel, where Commissioner Guerin will be attending. Tuesday, June 6th, Liberty High School, I will be attending. And then at 3 p.m., Winters Mill, it'll be Commissioner Gordon and Kyler attending. And then Wednesday, June 7th, Manchester Valley High School graduation, Commissioner Kyler will be attending. At 3 p.m., Francis Scott Key, or some will say the Francis Scott Key High School graduation, Commissioner Vigliotti will be attending. I will be participating in the Governor's Workforce Development Board at 3:30 p.m. over at the Community College of Baltimore County. There's another planning commission? That doesn't make sense. Shall we check those?
Yeah, we'll check that.
This doesn't seem that there'd be
No.
two.
I don't think so.
One is Memorex, so check which one. Thursday, June 8th, we open session at 09. And then, we will have a visitor from the Executive Director of MACO and Maryland Association of Counties, along with the MACO President, County Executive Calvin Ball, will be coming to us at 09. And then at 1 p.m., Century High School graduation at McDaniel College, where I will be attending. Friday, June 9th, Racial Justice Conference will be occurring at the Carroll Community College. Commissioner Kyler will be attending. Saturday, June 10th, nothing scheduled, and Commissioner Kyler's got the podcast for that week. How'd I do? Okay?
Good, yes.
Okay. What I need now is a motion to recess and go into closed.
Motion to recess and go into
Something like that.
closed.
No, just a motion to go into close for
Motion.
land acquisition.
Motion to go into closed for land acquisition.
And then a motion to adjourn after that.
And a motion to adjourn after that.
All in favor? I need a second. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.